Rolling.
There we go, now they can hear
Oh,
me.
need to do my light on.
Shut the fuck up. I need to make sure I'm also capturing the right browser source. Yeah, we're capturing the wrong one, typical. I wanted to capture... No, that's also the wrong one. Which Firefox one is it?
I wanted to capture my right eyebrow, not my left eyebrow.
I wanted to capture your stream, actually. I'm just putting your stream on my stream because they can hear you. But I can't see to select the right Firefox window. Okay. Is it this one? It's this one. I'm gonna turn you on.
It's this one.
That's the wrong one. Great. That one's correct though, so I can use this one instead. There we go. Got it in the end. This is the one that lets me show your stream. I had one that was set to only show your Twitch, and it was logged in everything, so I could just, like, if you were streaming, I was gonna have it as a thing I could press a button, it would just turn your stream on in the corner, then turn it off again as a live cam. And I got it working once, and then something happened, and it stopped working after that. So, but for my viewers, they're just on a delay with this. I'm gonna turn my music down a tiny bit, and they should be able to hear you, which is good.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I just realized something that's not running. Give me a second. Let me turn on... I actually didn't see if the audio bars moved on Discord then. Oop. Yeah, they are. They can hear you. There we go. And now my captions are here. There we go.
Oh, I'm just dying. Forgive me.
Oh, I had chicken wings that were slightly spicy, so I got a runny nose. I'm like,
We've just got ill from coming back from Hannah's. She's infected us.
wow.
At least I'm blaming Hannah for it anyway. Ah!
That's what you get.
This fucking coaster keeps getting stuck to the bottom of my drinks. Right. New colony. What do you want to do? What do you fancy?
I definitely want to do Crash Landed because it comes with a bunch of stuff and it puts us at a good start anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Crash Landed, that's fine. What AI storyteller do you want?
Now,
have you been doing Ricky all the time?
I've always been doing Ricky because it gives me the best chance
random,
of survival.
Sorry, Randy, not Ricky.
Yeah,
Randy.
I've always been doing Randy Random because he actually is the most fair in how long you live. Because it can be anything, but that also like strategically opens up. It could be nothing. It is the most fair. It is truly 50-50. So
I mean,
in my current run,
Classic is better because you progress, but
yeah, it's
but
it's a predefined story. So I prefer the idea of random things going wrong. I've been doing adventure story. That's it. I've not gone easy. I've only done adventure story.
See, I've done Strive to Survive, and it is a little rough.
Yeah, but you're experienced.
I wouldn't say I'm that experienced. I've got about 90 hours in this game.
I have 19.
You're not far off.
You know, I have. To be fair, if we had to count the hours that I've watched of this game, every day this week I have watched Sips for the entirety of his stream, and he's been streaming RIMWorld. So I've probably watched about 40 hours of it, plus the ambiguous amphibian videos I've been watching. So that's probably another 10 to 15 hours of it, plus the Charbog video I was just watching. So that was another 20 minutes. So I've been watching a lot. I've only started picking up information and learning probably about 59 hours ago when I started playing this a week ago.
Sips is a great watch.
Sips is a really good watch. He's really good at it. He's been playing it for a while. I didn't realise. I thought he was like a new player.
He's been playing it since it's come out, I think.
Yeah, it's his second run on the new DLC, and he's like flying off into space, opening up like tombs, killing everybody in it, and then leaving again. He is so far into it, I don't see his colony failing, and he's too far to fail. Yeah,
I want to get all the DLC when it all goes on sale at Christmas this year.
Oh god, so do I.
Because the DLC is so like mad. But some of the things they've added recently were mods. Like a lot of quality of life stuff they've added, and in the last couple of updates were originally mods, and they've actually implemented them to the game. Yeah. So, but anyway, right, adventure story. We can always change it if we think it's too easy, but
yeah. I mean, I've been struggling with adventure story, so it's fine.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to do reload anytime mode or commitment mode?
I like commitment mode because I don't like
Commitment mode it
save
is.
scumming backwards. I like the idea that whatever happens, happens. That's how I like playing any game. It's like whatever happens,
Yeah,
happens.
I agree.
All right. The seed is going to
Corporation seed.
be Tucky
Do you
Duck
want to
Big
randomize or
Nut.
just leave it as it is?
Tucky Duck Big Nut.
Is that what you want me to put into it?
Tucky Duck Big Nut. Yes.
Tucky duck big. If I can type nut, there we go. It can be all one word because it just looks confusing.
Yep.
Generate.
Yep. I don't mess with any of this. I don't touch any of this.
But yeah, you don't need to. So. Right. Where do you want to go, boy, or do you want to do random?
You can pick if you know a best spot. I just click random and then roll with it.
We shall be in the desert. Done. Next. Okay. Choosing our people. So we have Kevin, who's a neuroscientist. They've been shot in the shoulder. Their lover is Dolores.
Okay, so he's got an old gunshot wound.
Good medical and social intellect, actually.
Yeah. Social and intellect's going to be great for research early on, because we can be like,
Yeah,
right, we've got an old gunshot, we're not going to make... Yeah. But they're basically, we don't make them work, they research and they're a doctor and that's it. We can just keep them. Because, like, yeah, they're greedy, but it's fine. There's no real negatives to what they've got going on. No.
So this guy also is just loves
frustration over time. So yeah, we do social smoking and he's happy. So we grow a bit of weed, let him have a toke, he's happy. That's fine.
He's also,
the first thing we
also
can
a greedy
learn...
bastard.
Yeah.
He needs a really impressive bedroom or he gets a mood loss. Oh, that's great.
That'll be fine.
So if his bedroom's shit, which it's going to be for most of the stream...
That's fine, it's manageable. We just put him in his own bedroom. Just stick him on his own. Make him in his own little shack.
Oh, dear.
We put his shack separate to everyone else.
I've been watching some of your streams. You do it very differently to how I do it. And it's going to be interesting. So
yes.
this is going to be fun.
You box everything off separately, whereas I try to make them all attached together and then fortify it. I try to make the way I've been
such
thinking
tiny
about it
rooms as well. Like, my rooms are massive.
Yeah, it's because there's so getting resources takes so long. My thought process is I can expand it later, so it's not a problem. So I'll make it small and add in. So that's how I've been playing the game. It's entirely how I'm happy with it.
Added on, but then my colony resets because I burned it to the ground, as we know before.
Yeah, whereas my colony is still going currently. Somehow, the current one is still alive.
Oh god! At least you haven't been through like 6 different people like I have on mine.
I mean,
my original colonists are not alive on mine.
I mean,
they haven't been alive for like ages.
I mean, yeah.
Oh dear.
All of my original colonies are still alive. Yeah.
All right.
We're sacking this guy off straight away. His incapables make him unable to be worked with.
Right. Okay. Nagyon's right.
Yeah. He's been sacked off straight away. Greedy wimp and physically hyper.
He's like a psychic tuning fork.
Oh.
She's extremely sensitive to. Oh. Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. I've never seen that trait before, actually. She's an herb world urchin. What? The herb world's ancient and deep industrial cityscapes bursting with humanity and poison. She had to fight for every scrap of food, shooting plus 2.
Look at what her first name is. Don't just dawn to me. Nana. You know.
The sun is nebulous or nebulous strike.
Yeah. Nibbles strike.
Nibbles.
Nibbles.
Right, let's see what else. I mean, we can always randomize these, don't we, if we need all of these.
Yeah, let's see.
We
have a night owl. One of them is a night owl. Booker is a night owl. That's really good. Because you can you can have them do work at nighttime when it's quieter. So you can have them doing like nighttime mining when nobody's awake, and you can get them doing resource gathering whilst nobody's awake, so then you can have all your building done during the day. And he's got medical, and there's nothing wrong with him, so he's definitely a have.
Oh, he does have good medical too, actually, yeah.
He's got good medical, okay social, okay intellect. He's great with plants, so he can do farming and planting and harvesting.
He can do farming at night. He can do midnight farming. That's great.
Yeah.
I would like someone who has some shooting skill because we're kind of lacking. But then again,
Well,
overall, we're very high in the intellect.
Nana's got a 4 on shooting, which isn't awful.
True, but she also has a 6 on melee, which is her preferred thing. So we'd probably get her to like beat the shit out of people.
Yeah, or we could just randomize it to all hell until we get somebody with good shooting, and then take what if we get somebody who's got a shooting of 7 or higher, we just take them straight away no matter what, and we had to deal with the consequences.
I mean, I'm down for that. We don't have anyone good for construction. Oh, but this guy though, he's got really good plants and animals.
Yeah, but he can't do dumb labor, and he can't do crafting, and he can't fight either. He entirely is unable to do anything.
Oh, yeah,
incapable of doing anything except for looking after plants and animals. This guy likes to have sex with animals. And the age!
What?
Whoa, hang on a second. Look at the age.
He's 77.
77 years old and won't do anything but look after animals.
Chronological age is 912. He's an organ farm. He was raised on an illegal underground organ farm. His body was used to grow organic implants for wounded mercenaries. Oh wow.
Hunting disabled. He's even worse.
Yeah, he can't hunt, he can't shoot.
Can't cook. Can't cook, can't craft, can't shoot, can't lift anything up either.
Oh
Literally
my God,
the worst possible person.
Right, screw it. We're going with what we've got.
Okay.
Right.
Nana can have the rifle.
Yeah, Nana can. Oh no. Well, Booker can have the rifle.
Nana's
and Nana can have a.
Oh yeah. Because
Nana's like.
No, I agree. I agree. I'm seceding. I have less hours. I'll secede to this. Hands up. I accept. I'm in the wrong here. You're the boss.
Right. So if I go save and quit.
You got host a server. You literally got a button there.
Oh, did that say it there? I missed it. Right.
Yeah, right, I'm gonna close your stream.
Alright, that was that one.
And go back into the game. No, OBS.
Oh yeah, host a server. There we go. Right. We shall call this. So max players. We'll just go to. Game name. This is fine. Password.
Well, don't say it out loud. We have a Discord for that.
Yeah, I know. I'm not gonna say it loud. Don't worry. I'm just thinking of a password. Meow. It will be that.
Okay, cool.
So I think, can I invite you?
Join, connecting, waiting for host to accept.
Oh, I have to accept. What's in the chat? Accept Ducks the Maiden. You are accepted.
Connection timed out.
Fuck's sake.
What? Connected. Oh, I see. Password. Right, there we go. Waiting for
game
data. There we go.
Yeah. Right, are you actually in
now I'm showing the game. You should be able to see my mouse next to yours.
Hold on. I'm just moving OBS back to where it needs to be. Oh, yeah, there it is. Nice. So, obviously, we're paused at the moment. But have a little gander around our place. There's some ostriches. I haven't seen an ostrich, actually, yet.
We do have an ostrich.
Oh, I found the ancient horror, or whatever it is. I can't remember.
Oh, it has a hollow... It looks like it's got quite hollow walls as well, so it should be... We could break into that. Right.
Yeah, well, someone gave me. Have you broken into one of these yet? These ancient.
No, my current one is built on the edge of one. So I'm just seeing like things I'm just seeing like veins of everything for us to mine. So I'm just marking that.
Yeah, we'll do the ancient thing at some point.
There is no trees at all. We are gonna have to.
No, there isn't. Oh, there's cactus.
Can cactus be cut?
It says chop wood, so.
Alright, I'm just gonna.
I mean, we're just gonna have to mine stone, and everything is just gonna have to be.
You know, like that. I'm sure this is fine. Where should we start by? Where should we build? Then?
Well, let me pause. I've got a cat in the way currently, so. There we go. Right. There's our people. Let's just allow all this. Oh yeah, you've got the thingy skills for that because I don't have that because I didn't know I could do that.
What? Press F to
Selected like, yeah, selected like you did.
Yeah, you do orders, and then you can just do allow, and you can just drag all of them, and it'll do it all.
Right. Nana is gonna wear the flak stuff because they're gonna go in.
Oh, I'm not even. You know, the first thing I'm just wondering is, do we just start? Oh,
Yeah, start chopping wood and maybe start. We could start mining and we could just build a.
I'm just gonna, just in bulk then. Just all of this can go, and this and this.
Oh, that's slag chunk. That's not. Where's the armor? Oh, there you go. Force wear flak vest, and then equip knife.
If I zoom out and I do this.
Booker's our shooter, isn't he?
We want to haul all the limestone. We want to haul all the slate. We want to haul all the sandstone. And then if we do zone, a stockpile zone, just, I guess, here.
Oh, do you want to build into the rock?
Oh, that was my plan idea. Is we take all the stone out of it and then build out of it.
Yep. Oh, I like that idea.
We're gonna expand into like getting through this vein here.
There's
and this vein here.
to steal. Yeah.
There's a nice button. Press Q and you select them, and it'll do the entire vein. So you have to individually select them.
Oh, you can press Q. Oh,
yeah.
So I've just been pressing mine. You've probably been
doing it. Yeah, you've probably been doing it slow the entire time. I was watching Sips running how he was doing stuff so quick, and I realised that there's actually little letters in the corner of things. Those letters correspond to an action. Like P to haul things and C to cancel. I've been learning. I also learned about the search option. So ship chunk. Let's see how many of them we have on the map. Ship chunk. We have 3, and it's marked down for deconstruction. So they're all marked for deconstruction now.
Oh, okay. Nana actually does need a rifle because she's a hunter and she can't hunt with a fucking knife, can she?
Yeah, but don't we have a pistol as well? Don't we also start with a pistol?
I gave Kevin the pistol, but I'm gonna drop the pistol.
And who did you give the? Oh, you gave her the rifle. I mean, yeah.
I gave him the rifle. I gave Booker the rifle. So Nana's gonna get the gun now, so she can now hunt, and Kevin can have the that until we get a proper hunter.
Manage drug policy. Social drugs. They are. Let's see.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to turn the game down. This game's very loud. As in the game, by the music, I mean. There we go. Good music, but it's loud for me. Right. Has someone been sick already?
Alright, I'm setting the 1 drink per day rules. And the recreational rules for what they can have now. Prediction.
Look at you saying all this stuff.
No. Ambrosia only for fun.
There's a pin cushion cactus. Oh, medicine's going to be a right ball ache.
Alright, so.
Oh.
You're a 1 per day, you're a 1 per day, and you're a 1 per day on the drug policy. Alright, that's what I care about. What?
Medicine. There's no medicine plants on here. I can't see the word.
Yeah, but we can grow them, can't we? Do we have anybody who's able to...
I don't know what we can grow here is the question.
Well, let's find out.
Nothing
specifically... Oh, we can go stuff up here. It's fine.
Okay.
Alright, put a 2 block gap in between them, put that there, and we can put another one up here. This first one is going to be rice.
So who
this one up here is going to be
menu priorities?
No, none of them can do heal root. And the alternative to rice.
None of them can do heal root. Oof.
They'll get there in time.
Right, so
who's got the best?
That's 2.
Plants wise, Nana's got 4. Booker's got 6. So if we make Booker do the plant, he'll get to 8 very quickly.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him on 1, but he's also on miner too.
That's true.
But I'm gonna get Nana on mining as well, because at the moment we need mining. So I'm just gonna.
Do not judge my.
Nana's also our cook.
Don't look at.
Have we got an animal?
Do we have an animal? Animals. We have Mustache.
Mustache. Ah.
Let's say he can rescue people, but he's not allowed to attack. He can haul things from time to time. He's bound to Booker. And he'll follow the master when he's following him. And he'll follow him when
So
he's
you got
doing
rice,
field work,
you got potatoes.
Rice, potatoes, and then heel roots at the top. That's not going to be used for a bit.
We need to get power. I feel like very fast here, because with the lack of wood, we don't want to burn anything. So wind turbine.
Compact machinery. There's loads of compact machinery in the map, so I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Yeah, there is luckily. So I'm just going to place a wind turbine. Actually, not there. Don't do it there. That's a bit far away.
I'm going to mark all the compact machinery veins to be.
Oh, so I can't place it there. I'll place it there.
Oh,
okay.
I already have. Oh, except for this one. There we go. All the veins for compact machinery are marked for mining.
Right, we're going to put everybody on mining as a priority 1.
There you go.
Even if anyone can't do it, they're just going to do it because that's like a big thing for us right now.
I currently don't have. We should probably. We can do. What's it called? Furniture? We can do a sleeping spot. So if we just do 1, 2, 3 there.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
And then if we do, hey Emma, and we do an animal sleeping spot at
the
foot of the bed, that's fine. They you know.
Yeah, Mustache can come with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's not many animals here except for ostriches. I can't speak today.
There's some boomlopes, some ostriches, some iguanas, and some emus. So
as long as we shoot the boomloops from afar,
you cannot attack or tame an emu without it attacking you.
Is that what it says?
And the emu is right around the corner 100%. From where we live as well. So we don't fuck with emus.
A large flightless bird with beady eyes on its ugly face, with its bad attitude, is the jerk of the natural world. Botherism is guaranteed to seek revenge.
God damn.
Wow, someone's really hate emus.
Isn't one of our guys a... Which one is it? Booker's a night owl, so we need to swap his schedule. So I'm gonna make.
Oh yeah.
Booker's...
Are you doing that now? Yeah.
Yeah, doing that. I'm gonna make 8, 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For sleep.
Once we have more people, we'll like spread them out between us, even them out.
Put some recreation there.
To make it a bit easier to manage, so that we're not like jumping on top of each other.
Put some recreation there. Because then we'll put all the recreation times at roughly the same time.
Mhm. Apparently need warm clothes. Oh, okay, it gets cold at night, doesn't it? Right. We should.
I think I've organised that right.
Honestly, I think you should cancel all the things that you've set to be done, to be mined, except for our home that we're trying to mine into the rock, because I don't want them to walk away and mine those. I don't know how they do the priority. Because yeah, while we need steel, it can wait, because we really need to like kind of just get indoors and have a bit of a base.
Oh, if they walk away, just hold left shift and just right click on something and just force them over to it.
Oh yeah, I know, but
Kevin's just like, I'm gonna stand here for a bit. Oh, he's getting.
Kevin can do that. That's fine.
Yeah, he's fine. He's getting steel. Too bad we need steel.
Digging.
Everything we have in this area, we do directly need.
But we have a lot of steel already. Like we've got 969 steel. So that can.
Then we can build like a steel house with no problem.
We can cancel that. Yeah, we can. But we'll build a house out of like steel. Rather than don't need to use steel. We use limestone instead. Because we will need a lot of steel.
Also, won't be able to burn down if it's limestone, which is good.
Yeah. As we know from my experiences.
I mean, we can make some concrete floors too, or limestone tile. Tile?
See, I saw on your stream that you had a wooden house and wooden floors, and it got me.
No,
nervous.
I've sorted that. I fixed that because only the centre bit is wooden, and the outside of it is now sandstone and limestone with traps. So it should be fine.
I got very nervous.
Yeah, I'm working on switching it over. It was supposed to be a temporary measure, but obviously this game, everything is both temporary and permanent. So it's like over time. Ooh, a combat supplier.
Combat supplier.
Woo! Are they?
Not that we can.
Have they collected steel? We've got some steel. We have 800 steel. We could.
Oh yeah, no, we've got 969 steel.
Not steel. I meant silver.
Oh, silver. Oh yeah, we can always buy some stuff if they got some stuff.
Yeah, we can see what they're offering.
Yeah. I don't know who's our best person. Is it Nana?
I don't know the shortcut for opening the bios. It's Kevin.
Oh no, it's Kevin. Yeah, it's Kevin. Kevin.
I like that I can just see your mouse live moving about. I think it's really
just like wiggling around. Does the sales screen come up for you?
Oh. Just pause this
sweet.
time for me, so it's fine. You get to fully make the decisions on what we buy and sell.
So we have 800 silver. Do you want like an assault rifle? That's like 551 silver.
Wait, dialogues? Trading session. Can I see this? I can see it!
Oh, you can see this. Oh, sweet. Or do you want to go armor?
Damn, if only we had a little bit more silver, we could have an EMP launcher.
Oh dear.
Sentry launcher, we could have a flamethrower. I actually... Because the hardest thing for us right now is medicine, I think we buy...
Oh yeah, they bought a good spot on medicine. I was just looking at the weapons.
Steel or a club or a mace. We buy
right, we're buying all the medicine.
We buy all the medicine, and that's it. We're happy.
Yeah, we can buy let's buy a sword. Yeah, and we'll do that.
There we go. That works.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I kind of wish they could equip two weapons at once.
Yeah.
Like a knife and a gun.
Like back in the day, the gladiators would have a sword and a knife, like a gun too, if they had the opportunity. 110%.
Yeah.
We'll leave them here because if anything just try to attack us like that.
I've just seen you've put chat in poo poo. I was like, why has that got like a star in it? Oh right, okay.
Doing good process. How are you?
Should do for the caravan, if we put the hitching spot near the ancient danger. At some point, when the trader comes in, we open the ancient danger, and then they'll attack it.
I thought about doing that in my own save.
You should do it. You definitely need to do it.
I thought about doing it in my own save. You get the loot
from their bodies and then everything, so yeah.
That'd be so funny. Yeah, but if they get injured while in your plot of land, they get upset with you.
That's fine. It's either they die or your people die, so you know.
What's Booker doing?
We need a stonecutter's table.
That's what he's doing.
Who's on construction?
I haven't looked at the priorities at all.
The priorities are kind of all over the place.
Look, Booker's on his recreation.
I know he is. Booker is in charge of construction, growing. He's on mining as well. He's also on plank cutting. He's our smith. He's our tailor. He's our crafter. He's everything.
Right, give the man a break. Take some things off him for a bit that we don't need him doing at all.
Kevin's a nerd. Well, we need him. We need him planting. We need him mining.
Oh, if
I need him building.
Nerd, then we should. One thing that I definitely need straight off the bat is a research table. Just production.
Yeah.
Simple research table.
Well, we could always just build that inside. But
I'm already putting it
Booker's got the rice down, so that's okay, and he's getting potatoes. Can't remember which one's the better plant. Is it rice or is it potatoes?
Rice is your good starter because you can get a lot of it very quickly. So you
yeah, that's true. That's it.
Potatoes are your easy one. So we also probably want straight off the bat then, being as we don't have a lot going on, is I was gonna say a fireplace, but we don't have that much cactus. So one of the things we need to do is learn how to grow trees, I guess. What was even our order for how we?
What do you want a fireplace for?
You can cook meals on it, simple meals, basic meals on it.
Once we get electricity, we can just use the electric cooker.
That's true.
Because
the first thing we're researching then is batteries.
We're just going to avoid wood.
The first thing we're researching is batteries, and then we're going to research solar panels.
Yeah.
Because we might as well be able to build the turbines, store the power, and then build the solar panels and get loads of power. Because we can just build loads of batteries.
Yeah, no, I agree. Where is Booker? He's there. Right.
He's farming.
Can you build that for me first, please? No, I didn't say prioritize the fucking wind turbine.
Let him cook. Let him cook.
I wanted the craft table because then we can build limestone blocks and detail.
Need defenses, like no shit.
Do forever. We don't need defenses. We're fine.
The single defense.
It's just one spike trap. Oh god. How much medicine do we have? We don't have a lot at all.
30, which is 10 times each one can be injured or hurt.
Yeah, whenever we can, we need to buy medicine.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a good mining spot for the. Have you used the mining drill yet?
Nope. Haven't got that far. Okay. Look, it's taken me a long time to get set up where I have one person solely focused on doing research and only research. That every time I do that, it all starts to go wrong. So I'm focused on getting research done in my current playthrough, and it's going okay. Yeah. Only because I'm just like, right, fuck it, the other two can do everything else.
So hopefully at night, I think Booker, because he's our crafter, we can get him to start making limestone blocks.
Yeah.
And then we can kind of start planning out our place. But for now we are. I'm just going to speed up a bit more. We're just waiting and chilling. I think you can control the game speed as well, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I'm just, I'm not rushing through anything that we're doing because it's early days. I'm just watching the outer perimeter.
You're the eye in the sky.
Yeah, I'm just looking around, just zooming around.
Yeah. We need to get a freezer as well so we can kill some of these animals and cook them.
Yes. Which, by the way, you can really compact your storage. It's something I'm very happy I learned you can do, is stacking storage so close to each other works in... You don't have to put any gaps next to it. You can just have shelves on shelves on shelves, and they figure it out. It's so good.
Oh, really? You don't have gaps for them to walk around? They just climb over the shelves?
Yep, you don't need gaps. It's factored into the size of the shelf.
Well, it probably doesn't look as good, though.
Doesn't matter if it looks good. It functionally works. You can pack in double the shelves into a space.
No, it needs to look good.
No. I decree that the shelves are stacked together.
Kevin is having a breakdown.
Why? What's up with him?
Recreation, disturbed sleep, uncomfortable, ate without table, chemical want. Oh yeah, he wants drugs. Slapped on ground, slept on, slept on the code. Greedy for impressive bedroom.
And Nana's now on a food binge.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Why is she already on? She's already pigging out. What's wrong with you?
The final straw was greedy for impressive bedroom.
I'm gonna let all of them.
Wait, she wants an impressive bedroom as well?
What the
fuck?
Yeah,
she's greedy. Oh, she's greedy as well. I didn't realize she had the greedy trait.
All right, Booker's doing power. Let's go.
Sweet.
My guy. Yeah. And then we have that.
He's gonna build the workbench.
It's gonna auto cut everything in the area. That's around it.
Okay, cool.
I don't get how that works. It's not, if there's anything behind it.
I mean, there's nothing for it to cut anyway. So.
They finished the recreation at least. He's building the chair before he's building the research table, bro. Come on.
Why have you put a chair there?
Makes researching go faster.
Does it actually?
Yeah, if they're slightly more comfortable, it makes research go faster. Look, I read a lot of pages of the wiki on this game.
You've read a lot about this game. I've not read any of that.
A lot of things about this game to have the best advantage because I know how difficult it can be. This game has been my... I fell asleep the other night and dreamt of it, and that's why I didn't play it the next day, because I'm in too deep. I'm in too deep. I've been staying up late every day. Kevin's having a tantrum. Kevin, stop fucking beating up the wind turbine. We just got it.
Destroyed some of our components. He destroyed some food.
No, he's destroyed the chair! No, he's destroyed all the food! He's
destroying a lot of stuff. Oh my god.
Kevin!
He's lost a lot of food.
Kevin! He's destroying the medicine! He's destroyed the wind turbine! Kevin! This run could be over before it even began. Kevin, please!
What?
No, he stopped to have food. Kevin, why? Wow. We just gotta roll with the punches, haven't we?
I think this is the worst start I've ever had.
That's
ever.
So fucking funny. He got rid of everything that kids. Kevin went, I want to commit suicide. I don't take anyone with me.
Kevin really did say fuck survive. He did.
He's got rid of all the medicine. He's got rid of all of our components. He got rid of the only source of electricity that we just built with those components. And then he also got rid of all of the food too. They're going to starve, and it's entirely his
as well.
I'm sorry, but I'm looking at Mustache and my tummy's rumbling.
Oh, we can't build the wind turbine now.
No, because if we mine some more, we can. But,
yeah, we've got compacted machinery to do.
if
But
push
still.
comes to shove, we might have to slaughter Mustache.
I'm killing Kevin first. I thought. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kevin must die first.
I guess
Nana's picking out. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Right, we're not digging a compacted steel anymore. We don't need any more compacted steel. Just dig limestone.
Oh my god.
Fuck Kevin, man.
Absolute bastard of a person. This is why people don't like you, Kevin.
Oh,
I haven't got enough. I'll
I'm gonna rename him to
put it on the
Kevin.
list, and then I'll put a limestone door here too. It's on the list of things to be built. They'll get around to it. They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll do it they'll do it once Booker gets
Yeah.
Oh, gotta construct the fucking bench again.
What?
The stonecutter's bench.
Oh yeah. He'll get around to it. This is why your family forgot about you.
This is why your family forgot about you, Kevin.
Yeah, this is true process. I 100% agree. This is why he was dumped on this planet specifically.
Oh dear.
Oh my god. What a fucking start.
That's hilarious. This is why RIMWorld is great. Right, let's speed this up. Jesus Christ.
Look, if Kevin goes on a rampage again, Nana's shooting him. She's putting him down. He might be a researcher.
I agree. I'm there. I'm there for this.
Booker had a little bit of food. Oh my god.
Okay, good. Has Nana got any food on her? No, she doesn't.
I don't know. I'm gonna tell them.
No one else has
Kevin,
food. So
you
we
get
have no more
nothing.
food.
Everybody else, when they get it, can have 3 medical if they can find it.
Oh god.
Right, Booker's construction's just gone up though. Go Booker. What a guy.
Yeah,
So far hasn't complained once. What a babe.
Oh, his construction is like his favourite thing as well. One of his
We
favourite
have
things.
struck compact machinery. This is good.
Oh, nice.
Struck pants, 0 normal 0% has deteriorated away in storage.
I mean, I think they were beaten up by Kevin, so.
I think so.
And they just kind of, because anything outside obviously just deteriorates slowly
Booker
anyway.
has ran off to find some of the components up in nearby to at least build the power back up.
Oh yes, right. So we still do have power. Okay, good. The research bench is damaged. Yeah, we need an electric stove. I think Nana might have to hunt and cook the food so that we can then like.
We haven't got a.
At least. Excuse me. At least hunt some. At least have something to eat. I don't know how long it'll be till they start like.
Let's put a crafting spot and a butcher spot on both of those. For now.
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, perfect. Right, bills. Add a bill. Simple meal times 4. Do this until you have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So if I do 21, so I have to do it until they have at least 45. That's when I'll be happy. Food binge attachment from Kevin. No, Kevin. Oh no, it's an old one. It's fine. It's just the eclipse.
I didn't see that. Don't scare me.
I still got the things on the side of the screen that popped up. I looked over to see why it gone off. Oh,
this wind turbine is doing nothing for us.
Right now.
Starvation. Shut the fuck up, Nana. You're fine.
Right. Research. Batteries are set.
I want to set the ostrich to be hunted.
Okay.
We need food. Actually, I might as well just the boo maybe, because they don't attack, do they?
No,
oh,
they
have a lower chance of attacking. Yeah, but as long as they're not close, they can attack a boom instead.
Every time I've gone to hunt one of those, it's ran near my base, and then they've decided to attack it near the base. It's happened like 2 times now. So I'm just like, alright, I don't fuck with them anymore. They can do their own thing.
That's funny.
First time ever Booker's gone to sleep and it's been pitch black. Look how fast the wind turbine's going, it's full.
Oh my god, we really need batteries. But Nana, I need you to hunt. I'm gonna change your priorities to hunting as 1. Because I kind of need you to hunt this dude. Get him! Just rapid fire that revolver.
Where's
I'm glad ammo isn't a thing in this game.
Where's Booker? Oh, he's getting wood.
Except for certain weapons. Hey, revenge.
It's been shot.
kill
And it's
it.
like, I'm coming for you. If that blows up and kills Nana, oh god, we're good.
Oh, it's fine.
Right.
Oh, okay. I got it to run away.
Whoa, you can get it to finish it off
Fire.
at least.
Yeah, I was gonna get it to run away because I didn't want it to die and then draw it into Kevin or somebody who has a gun.
That'd be so
Look, it
funny.
does. She's very slowly killing it.
There it goes. Thank you for redeeming Smash.
There we go.
About the safest that could have gone. Oh,
she can't haul it
playing
because
horseshoe.
she can't haul it because it's on fire. You need to beat out the fires and then she can haul it.
Wow.
Hey, Ghost.
Now she's
Oh
like
yeah, we
that.
don't have a storage spot for it.
Oh, in fact, I can just change this one real quick to allow corpses.
Yeah.
Plants, chunks, and corpses.
Oh, we need to
allow
also butcher animal. Do forever. There we go. So we have no wind at night. We just have wind during the day.
Yep, and we've completely run out of power, so we can't cook food at night either.
Fuck.
So, the sooner we can get Kevin into a nice spot where he can just start researching inside, the sooner we can get batteries done.
Yeah.
And then we can start looking at solar
Has he
panels.
actually started the research for it?
No, it shouldn't take him too long. It's only 400.
So if we take Kevin off mining then and just put
Literally
him on
put him
priority 1 for research.
Yeah, priority 1 research, and literally just put him on like priority 1 medical.
Well, he's on priority 2 because his medical skills. Oh no.
Yeah,
He should be actually
He's
1.
a fast learning priority 1 medical. He should be good.
Yeah. He's a warden as well. Wow, he's a really good warden skill too.
If we ever decide to keep a prisoner. Booker's probably been kept happy by the fact that Mustache keeps following him around. What a good boy.
Booker, can you mine faster? My god, man.
What's his mining speed at? 3. Alright, he's learning as fast as he can.
Who's our chef? Nana is going to be our chef. Right.
Shout out to Nana.
We need food so she can put mining on the back burner for Neil.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I like Booker playing this game
Kevin's
by his own and then going to sleep. Booker's just eating raw meat right now.
Oh wow, okay. And so is Kevin. Nana's... Oh god. Oh god.
How are they doing? Whole body malnutrition. Alright, it's fine, they're having food poisoning from it.
Nana's gonna hunt more animals. Oh, she's hunting an iguana. Oh, I didn't realise what iguanas do.
Yeah, I saw the 2 iguanas in the wildlife and I was like, yeah, we can blast them to pieces.
We have some meals. We have 3 meals. Yes. Oh, there's more still here. I'll take that.
Now, the thing I was reading about batteries is that once you build a battery, it says stores electricity for later use. Charged batteries explode when exposed to rain or fire.
Yeah, we need to.
They do need their own stone composite.
That's fine. Nana, you're a terrible shot. Oh god, she got really close there for that execution.
I was like, Nana, you're a terrible shot. Bang! Like, what the hell's she doing?
Did you see how close she got there for that kill?
I didn't go over to have a look.
She got really close.
I
Like she was
simple
literally
meals
just on the edge
forever
of the blast radius.
There's no reason not to.
Oh,
she stops it for recreation. Yeah, power. Yeah.
Oh man.
But hey, at least the farms are still alive.
Yeah, that's true. They just take forever.
Yeah.
It's 13 degrees already. How hot is it going to get out here?
It's a good
See,
question.
I've never done it one in the desert, so it's a shame we can't get muffalo here. Oh, that's a real shame. Muffalo is such a good source of meat.
I And I had one join, like self-join my.
Oh, did you? Oh wow.
I was like, great, and then it got killed by a raider. I was like, no, my son, my boy, they killed my boy.
I've got a muffalo farm, and it's just infinite meat. It's just great.
Any of the wild ones, I'm scared though, because if you annoy one of them, and the entire herd's just like, I'm here to kill.
I know they go from like 0 to 100 well fast.
Yeah, they've got no indication that they'll do that. Then they're like, I'm going to murder you. Oh, okay.
Right, Nana, you need to cook as like a priority. I'm changing your priority to cooking.
No, it's time to cook.
Kevin, what are we cooking?
Kevin's like shuffling through his papers over and over, but he's not actually learning anything. He's just pretending. He's just like doesn't actually know anything.
Oh, Booker is expanding the base out nicely. Good job, Booker. I'm making a massive base.
Yep.
Oh, I can't build on there? Oh, because that's sand. Ah, interesting. Okay.
Iguana self-tamed?
What?
We have a pet iguana! How do I... Where's the thing for it? Well, I can rename it. How do I rename you?
Oh my god. That's both good and also unfortunate because now we can't eat it.
How do I rename you? Information? Stats, health, records? I want to rename the iguana. 101. I don't know if I can rename him. Can you rename the iguana? Because I can't.
Animals, iguana. Go under training, and the little thing at the top next to the X. Can you see that?
No. What?
If you look on my stream.
Hey, tell me how to open your. Oh, I see what you mean on the bottom. Training. Oh.
Yeah.
And then there, right. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Silver.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Ooh.
All right, I think you'll like the name of the iguana.
Quasimodo.
Random name, the game picks. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well, actually.
Booker, if you could
Right,
like
Booker's
finish
collect
building,
limestone.
if you could finish like crafting limestone.
Yeah, he's getting limestone
Oh,
chips.
do you
I
know
put him
why?
on priority for
It's because
crafting, so...
we haven't been set to make any limestone blocks because it got destroyed, didn't it? Just do.
Oh, right. Do it forever. Just do it forever.
That's what I'm doing.
'Cause we're gonna
Then he'll
need
be able to
'em,
build. It'll be.
You can build a shitload
He's
of...
gonna box them in.
Bucko, we can't get the fuck out.
I'm working on the door in a bit. I'm having a nap.
Right, we're gonna need lights.
The shaman merchant from the nation of Tronape?
Tron Ape.
Tronape?
Right, you can get Kevin or whoever it is to go and have a look. Oh, they got cows. Oh, they got a bull and a cow.
They got freaking, what's it called? Kevin? Trade with them.
Have they got food?
I see something that I could buy straight away. That'd be very happy with having, but with it to say they do. They have permission, which is really good. So I'll probably buy a lot of that. They've got
what? Sorry.
Neuroment components. They've got herbal.
Oh
medicine.
yeah, we need neuroment. We need that to make more medicine.
It's
so neurotromine or however you say it. It's the only thing in the game that you can make proper medicine with. You can't like use it with anything else. So we do need some of that.
I'm pretty much going to spend all our silver until we start making.
That's fine. We've actually struck silver, so we can mine some more. But yeah, they are the two things that we definitely need.
You'll appreciate what I was set to buy. There's a little bit of medicine and then also some food stuff.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Oh yeah, I saw you bring up the Piminchkin, or however you say it.
Yeah, it's a long-term storage food. Lasts forever.
Yeah.
It's a really good one to learn because you can turn that into other stuff. We're gonna mine a break wrist from Nana. She's getting peed off because she's not mining.
We probably should research that next, maybe.
Oh, we have 2 batteries. We have to do solar panel power. So yeah, basically because he's just focused solely on research, we can get through them really quickly. So yes, we can do that, and we can. But it requires both veg and meat, and obviously until we have our veg crop vegged and we have storage inside, which is cooled in some way, it's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, we can get the cooler.
No, shut the freak up.
Cooler, the electric cooler.
Oh, cancel that.
Because we're gonna have to do the electric cooler. Oh, is that gonna be the research room?
Mhm. And the bedroom for now.
Yeah. What do we furniture beds? We can make steel beds.
Yeah.
I'd rather we had wooden beds though. We do have some wood. And there is still cactus we can chop down. Hey!
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Right.
Are you doing solar panels, yeah?
Yes, it's gonna be the next one where I was looking at them recently. Well,
Yeah, sweet.
Solar panels research. Yeah. And then
Right,
I'm
Booker's
gonna
doing his thing.
power, batteries. I'm gonna put them like 4, 5, 6. I know we won't be able to make that many. The
Oh, we got a
idea is that
gift!
should be able to
Uranium.
Cool, they gave us cancer. We've had a glowing green rock we think you might like.
Oh, he's building the batteries first.
That's fine. As long as it doesn't rain, which we're in a desert, what are the odds of it raining?
I mean, is this where we have a flood?
Really
desert, it's fine.
Monsoon.
Randy Randoms. I don't know why I keep calling him Ricky. Randy's just like, do you know what I'm going to do right now?
The thing is, how do you... I can't remember what the button is to see the power stuff. To see if they're
What do you
close enough. I don't know if they're close enough.
Oh, but they are. They're
okay,
closer. They're close
fine.
enough. They're quite close enough, yeah.
Because by doing
I'm pretty sure it is anyway. If
we
not,
also
it's just
could do
like
a
one
wood-fueled
literally.
generator. This is fine.
Oh no, they're not
Okay.
close enough by like 2 bits, but that's fine. We can just do like
God,
that, and it's
fair,
done.
I can just reinstall them. Yeah, I'll do them.
Oh, just do them there. It's fine. It's only connecting them by like a little cable, so they'll be fine like that.
Right, I'm gonna leave.
Did you put a roof on it as well?
It'll do it automatically.
Oh, sweet. Who is on a... Oh, Nana. Oh, you've built that in the wrong spot.
But what in the wrong spot?
You built it behind the wind turbine.
Okay, what's wrong with that?
Well, it's not going to get any wind if there's wind coming from behind the wind turbine.
I just had to put it near it. In fact, we can just up and move it. It's not like it's in
We need to, because otherwise we're not going to get any wind power. Well, Kevin's sad. Is it because we have no food again? Nana, go hunt for me. I can't remember the power button either, but if you just go power, like click on the power tab, it just shows you how close you are. You can see the lines. Probably just need to do one, yeah.
Oh, there's a boom like seeking revenge.
Where's Nana? She's far enough away, it's fine.
Oh, okay, she's fighting it. That's why it's seeking revenge.
I'm drafting her just in case.
Yeah.
Fuck, run! Can you... Oh, you can't draft Kevin.
Nope, he's kind of in a mood and we're not having Booker risk his life in this. Kevin's having a sad wander right now.
Oh no, Booker's who we want. Booker's got the rifle. Okay, sorry, I thought Kevin had the rifle.
Yeah, he was moving the batteries.
But he needs to kill. Engage. Oh, Booker missed. Send in mustache.
No, don't send him mustache.
Booker hit her.
Good
Oh,
shot,
good.
Nana.
Kill this fucker.
Yeah, right next to where we would have a farm.
Oh, why did she collapse?
Medical emergency? We'd have
Why
a
did she collapse?
I don't know.
Malnutrition. Oh fuck.
Right, I've marked one bed as a medical bed. It happened to be her
Bucking
bed,
on
so
his
it's fine. So at least one of them will tend to her. That's why I said mark Kevin for medical when he's available to.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
If he hadn't destroyed all the food, this wouldn't be a problem. Have you got rid of? Oh, I might have done that. Oh, my bad. No.
Oh yeah, you got rid of half the construction. What the fuck, man?
I did by accident.
Terrible. She's just hungry, but she's a cook. So, I mean, any of them can cook, really.
Yeah.
But I need someone to go kill Boom Ape so we can eat it. Go on, Booker. Booker is our one and all guy at the moment. Good job. Right. Extinguish fire. Don't tell me you're. Oh, he's eating the Boom Ape. No.
Let him eat. He's malnourished and we don't want him breaking.
But he's gotta cook it so that everyone else can have it. He's eating all of it. He's only at some of it. Oh. Can you not butcher? Prioritize butchering, please. Oh. Sad times.
Has anybody actually fed Nana since she's extremely malnourished?
Not yet. Kevin will when there's food. Oh, the dog is eating the food.
Come
Is
on,
Booker going to fill?
Yeah, just
Booker's
Booker,
feeding
just,
her.
yeah, just shove it in her mouth. Eat!
Fair, Booker is also the doctor, so.
I provide. And he's
Whoa.
just making her force. She while she's asleep. He's like munching this. He's like, good.
When do we get? Machining, no. Can we already build them?
Things confuse me. I bought that P stuff. I can't see where it is.
What stuff?
I bought the P thing. I can't see where it is on the map. I thought I bought it.
They might have eaten it straight away.
Okay, but where's the medical stuff gone then?
The herbal medicine. Oh, it's here. They just haven't picked it up yet.
Oh, no, I bought the other medicine stuff as well.
Oh yeah, that's just blow it.
Okay, so yeah, so one. I bought a bunch. I bought like 20 of each. So.
Production. Where is? Do we still need to research it? I don't see it on here. Biorefueling, no.
What are you looking for?
We can make like a little. Oh, I can't remember what the actual name is for them now. Like little beds, not beds. Little metal.
Yeah, I know what you're on about. The medical beds.
Things for food. So we can make food inside.
Oh, you mean if you go under production? Do you mean a butcher's table?
No. So it's grow bed. That's the word. It's a grow bed. You can make grow bed inside.
Oh yeah, that's a research thing. We're building up to that. That is part of hydroponics.
I can't remember
which gives you a hydroponics basin.
Oh yes, hydroponics. Yes, hydroponic basin. That's
right,
it. Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing the settings on the storage stuff and say I don't want any. It's allowed corpses, but not human-like corpses. It's not allowed rotten, and it's not allowed raw resources, unless it's. Yeah, no, it's just not allowed. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
It can have gold, it can have jade, it can have silver, and it can have plat steel. Not steel, not uranium, and not wood. And the inside stuff. Just to sort of clean up the.
How do I rotate stuff?
And then.
Can I rotate doors? Or does it just do automatically? I can't remember. It's been so long. There we go. Yeah, it just does it automatically. Right, that's our storage room. Oh, we actually have power now. This is good.
Why have you built the door onto the shelf?
Good question. I'll just fix that.
Just like, I really like this shelf that you built, this steel shelf, so we can put stuff in. Let me just like, no. Right, storage. Right, I'm not gonna allow food out here now. Manufacture could be out here. That's fine. Raw resources, corpses are no longer allowed to be outside, but we are allowed rotten and flesh. I'm gonna do another thing away from the house. Another zone. Another stockpile zone over. Yeah, where should we do this?
Oh, Kevin and Nana have just had a fight.
Just out of nowhere, just like an insult spree led to a fight, and then it was over. What just exploded?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
spacecraft
much...
impacted nearby.
Oh, nice.
Wow, cool.
Where?
Top left. I've already marked it. Alright,
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna put.
Oh,
here.
that's a lot of chunks.
Stockpile zone over here for now, because we're probably gonna go over here. Storage
Yeah, if we can bring some of that
is
stuff inside, that'd be great.
Allow rotten, nothing fresh, no foods. It's simply going to be corpses that are rotten over here. They should start
Where's
working on that on the right.
Oh, over there on the stop.
That's a rotten food zone. Because all normal foods are added inside, and I also need to go furniture. No. It's
Oh yes, we've got some of our
temperature.
rice. Yes.
We need a passive cooler in here, or are we going to jump straight to cooler?
No, we don't want passive cooler. We want electric cooler straight off the bat because we don't have enough wood for it. So,
So what we need to do
I've got
is put
power connections set up.
this.
Well, for now, just stick it on the outside wall, like one of these outside walls here by the door.
Yeah, we're just going to dump the heat back into the house for now.
I mean, the house is open, so.
Right, well then I'm gonna mark one.
But for now, just so like our food stays cool, like.
If I go order mine, if I go and do this, when they get those two tiles out, you put the cooler on them, and you leave that back tile empty. It creates a chimney, a funnel.
Yeah.
So the heat gets dumped out. You just tell it not to have a ceiling. So I don't know how you tell it not to have a ceiling. Inspired trick. Okay. She's sleeping on the floor.
That's inspired her.
It's humbled her.
I didn't know you could have like a ceiling like that.
Yeah, you can tell it where you don't know. You can tell it to not have a ceiling over a structure, and that way you can zone roof construction area. Remove roof area on that chunk.
Hey, ball trader. We only have 12 things.
Yeah, we have nothing, and to be fair, it might take some of our leather. No, it's just lizard skin. It's actual leather. It's not actually made into anything yet.
They might still buy it though. It might be worth it.
You're free to send Booker over, but currently, what's he doing? He's currently getting the rice. The rice is important, so I'd not touch it. I'd not touch it.
Well, Nana's the one with the inspired.
Feel free to send her over.
Inspiration, isn't it? Yeah, send her over. Let's do it. Where is she? There she is. Trade. Use your inspiration.
Booker's cooking the rice, which is good. And only Kevin is suffering from starvation right now.
Increase medical or max level 8 though, so we don't need that. Construction 8. Will they accept our... Oh, they won't accept our leather. Oh no, they will actually. For like 107 bucks.
What? Oh.
Which is not a lot.
I want to see the trading session. Show me. There we go.
We could get 2 ducks.
We haven't built an area for them, and we can't grow grass for them currently.
Oh yeah, we can't, can we? Rip. I don't think there's anything we need really or want.
What are the books? Recreation gain multiplier, construction.
The only one would be the construction one, I would say, is the best. But then we could also research IEDs with the novel applications for improvised explosive traps. So, but we don't really have the money either. We don't have the money for any of the books.
No, yeah, you can pick whatever.
I think we just sell our leather and leave it at that.
Nana bureaucrat is no longer inspired. Inspired trade.
Well, she's just done it, so.
Right, now we piss off an ostrich and let them wipe it out. Two of them are fighting. What's going on? Q and J.
What the fuck?
Hey, we might get some free stuff out of this. If they kill each other, we might get some free stuff.
They're both nude, though, I think.
And? Let them fight it out.
Oh no, they didn't kill each other. They're just chilling there now. Jay's got asthma. I didn't even thought it was a trait.
Yes, it is. It's really annoying.
Funny.
If you get old enough, they just get asthma. I think it's when they turn 55 or 60, they just get asthma.
Jesus.
God, We really need solar panels because our power problems will be gone. Now that's fully healed.
To fair, our power isn't too bad.
Battery's
You are
carrying.
right.
To fair, the only thing we're using for power right now is the electric stove.
Yeah.
So.
You're gonna need bucket to start cutting stuff again soon rather than cooking. We've got 7 meals, so that's actually not bad.
Can't Nana also cook?
She can, but she's also mining them. Well, we've got 7 meals, so I'm perfectly happy with that for the moment.
I've told him to make that infinitely anyway, the basic meals.
Yeah. So I've just taken Booker off cooking, so Booker can do like all the other stuff.
There's not a lot of wildlife.
But he's at the moment
2 ostriches
harvesting all the. He's getting all the plants harvested, so.
Yeah.
God, we need a 4th person.
We do.
Hey, do any of you guys want to join?
Hey, do you want to give us Jake or Q? We know they might be injured, but we'll make a spot on the floor for them.
They'll love the floor.
I like the idea that they're all sleeping on the floor, but Kevin gets to sit on a stool when doing research.
Kevin and Nana need their own room. They need an impressive bedroom.
Amma and join. Yeah, get Amma in here.
Yeah, do it. Join us, Amma.
Get in here, Amma. Climb into the base. Sleep on the floor. Mine out the hole. Let me put my cooler in. Cooler be so wasted right now because they're like all that cold air just go into the atmosphere.
Oh.
And even do research while sitting on the table.
You just sit on the table.
Oh god, yeah, we have to make a table for them to eat at some point so they don't piss themselves. I'm eating food off the floor. Get over it.
Have
you live in squalor.
Have you seen the mod where they can die if they don't eat on the table?
Yes.
That's great.
I did have a look through. I'm still trying to have a very vanilla playthrough, except for the Twitch channel.
Oh yeah, I haven't really touched the mods except for this, to be honest. There's loads you can do. There's so many mods. It's crazy because there's so much you can do in the base game already. Like, it's just mad. Nana's on my sleeping spot because her sleeping spot is the medical.
Yes, I know.
I've just changed it. Oh, Book is still cooking. I thought I took him off. Oh no, I didn't. Whoops. A digger from the nation of Trinape is passing by. Huh. Yeah, the Odyssey DLC looks great. You can spaceships now and everything.
Yeah, Sips' entire house is a spaceship. His entire base.
That's so cool.
Ship. He has a small ship
and
that
you can
goes
land
up and
anywhere.
comes down.
And...
Yeah, it just flies up and lands in places.
Can you do boarding? I don't know if you can do boarding actions in that yet.
I don't know. I haven't seen him do that.
A roof has collapsed.
It's too far from any support.
Oh yeah, we need to build supports.
What roof?
Column support, steel support. There we go.
What? Where?
It was here.
Oh.
Oh. What did I? Why did I hear?
Things that were crushed. Quasimodo.
No. Oh, he's there. Quasi's still alive. He's just injured.
Quasimodo doesn't have a place to sleep either.
Oh dear. Oh, there you go. Quasi's still sleeping now, resting.
That could also be the medical one.
Oh, Kevin's healing Quasi.
Yeah, it might, you know.
Bro, we're getting there with the mining.
The research is going well.
It really is. We'll have solar panels before we know it.
Yep, which means we'll have like so much power.
What would save our ships, Amy? Is that a mod for? Is that a different game or is that a mod?
Okay, cool. So Nana's building the thing. This is great. So now I can
go... sweet, she's mining it out. Okay, perfect. Yeah, put it in there.
So I can put that there, and then I can go.
So we can cancel that on there.
The zone and the ignore roof area.
Oh, excellent.
There we go. Remove roof area. It's done.
But outdoors is 23 degrees. I wonder how hot it's going to get outside.
We should probably get them to... Oh, we need to then... If we're doing this, what we should do is put a vent... like there.
Yeah.
between the two rooms, so that the cold air from one goes into the other whilst it's so hot.
To be fair, I might have to build a lot of these coolers around the building.
Well, once we've got solar panels out the way, it's not so much a problem.
Oh yeah, true. Nana, I need you to cook.
There we go. It's the rest of our 2 more of our storage shells being made. That's good. And he's doing our power cables. Let's go.
Yeah, Booker needs to focus on constructing, and then he can build the rest of the base.
Oh, he's busy having a lie down outside. And now he's harvesting rice again.
That's fine. Oh, Kevin's playing horseshoe.
And back to research.
Quick game of horseshoe. Now I'm just going to continue shuffling the papers.
Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Bingo! Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Yahtzee!
Once Kevin's done that, if you put him on construction, maybe as a priority.
Yeah.
And then you can get those. So, because he's got 5 construction actually.
Yeah, because then I'm going to turn hydroponics on as the next research point, and that's going to be a slow one for a bit.
Well, actually, what else is there? Is there anything else more important than
Shows the local
hydroponics?
biomes natural trees in your fields, so we could do tree sowing.
Yeah, that would actually be really good.
We're not going to be able to grow any proper trees here, but hey, we might be able to. Come on!
Oh,
594,
595.
595, 597,
We're
598,
putting the
599.
same time.
Let's go!
Yes!
Right. Power. Solar. Bam, bam. We just need 6 components to make those.
That's fine. We've got loads of
Then
machinery near us. So.
research was going to be onto hydroponics. And then assign, schedule work. Kevin, that's now.
Oh yeah, we've got
your
loads
highest
of meals
priority.
now. Perfect.
Construction is now your highest priority.
Okay, I want you to prioritize cutting limestone chunks for us, please, pal.
We have the ideals of what our base should be until we can move everything inside and get ourselves like a prison set up somewhere.
Oh, we definitely need a prison, obviously. Prison is like high priority.
So what I do for my prisons is you see the heat vent over here, the steam geyser.
Right.
I built one of them as a prison. Make them really, really hot, and then they die, and
cook them.
Yeah. If I don't want to keep a prisoner, I put them in the I put them in the cooker.
See, if there's someone I don't want to keep, I just kill them. I just don't cook them. You're just brutal.
A manhunter pack of guinea pigs.
Guinea pigs.
No, not the guinea pigs.
There's 2. I mean, you say that I'm right next to 3 guinea pigs right now who could come and hunt me down.
Right. I'm just gonna quickly put them all into drafted mode. Just gonna send them all
Booker
here.
should just be able to snipe them off.
Let's put them all here for a second.
Oh, you need to move Nana like into firing range. There we go. Oh, look at that! 1 shot, 1 kill.
Should look around the corner.
The guinea pigs got red eyes, man. There we go.
There we go. And then do boo boo. Yeah. A collection of treasure. A skill trainer intellectual. 2 man-hunting rats are wandering nearby and there may be an unknown threat.
It's not worth the risk until we have more people.
1 use super dose of mechanites, which will train a specific skill.
Yeah, it gives someone super intellect, basically. Yeah, really high. Even though we've got someone who's already high, Kevin, so...
I was going to say we can give Kevin super intellect.
I don't know if you... I think it only does it to a certain height, I'm not too sure.
Yeah.
I guess just like a certain height, sorry, a certain level, so I'm not too sure if Kevin's too high, because he's like 11, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a cap for it.
We need some compact machinery mining as a priority for power now.
Yeah, I've got some. There's some behind our base. If you just tell Nana to go mine it.
So we can get the rest of the rest of the batteries done, and then we can get the solar panels done.
Yeah. God, we've gone through our steel. At least there's loads of it on here.
Yeah.
Was it also shit ton of limestone?
The solar panels are also going to use 100 steel each.
Yeah,
that's okay. That'll be basically all of our steel gone then.
Yeah,
for now.
There's loads on this map.
We've probably got storage, but there's loads
our base is built onto the edge of one. Kevin, why are you upset?
Kevin's always upset, man. You know this.
What's his needs? What's he? Oh, beauty, comfort, and chemical. Alright. Alright, so the bedroom now has a ceiling over it, which is good.
Just put some lights down. Oh, Kevin's put in some of the components. Oh, we need a lot of components. Jeez.
Right,
Colonists need beds.
I'm gonna upset them for a second. Give me a second. Bam, bam, bam.
Oh, yeah, I should put in proper beds down.
Yeah, just wooden beds.
Yeah. Exotic trader. Oh god, the wind turbine is going. We're getting that power. Oh, getting that solar power.
It's starting it, which is good.
Yeah.
I like Nana just asleep on the shelves.
I can't say I blame her.
Hey Kevin, can you go see what they want? I'm just curious. What have they got? We can sell them Quasimodo. I'll attach them to Quasimodo.
Don't sell them Quasi. How much is Quasi? He's only 42.
Yeah. Mustache,
You
however.
got Caribou?
This is 177. 2 Caribous.
We're not.
Components.
No, we can't get rid of Mustache.
We're not getting the Glitterwood medicine because we don't need that right now.
No, we can't afford anything, so we might as well just leave it.
Yeah,
I love components.
A mega screen television.
What?
Thank you. A psychic
Oh my
shock
God.
lance, pain stoppers, and crafting and construction XP books, but we don't have enough. So, bye, Felicia. Are you sending the menu for this? Because
I'm out of it.
and so am I. Oh, we have to click cancel. There we go.
Oh, okay, there we go. We have power, we have light.
And he's built the first
We have
bed.
beds.
That's a medical bed.
Hey!
2 beds. He's like, I'm done building the beds now, and I'm gonna go sleep in it. He's like, motherfuckers, I'm gonna get to bed and go. Oh no,
He's built his own.
All right, he's building the next bed. Cool, one more bed. Food poisoning.
He's chilling.
Cause incompetent cook. Should be fine.
I mean, yeah.
She's gonna
that
shit
makes
and puke
sense.
everywhere. It's not like I haven't been shitting and puking everywhere as it is.
I mean, true. Okay, this is good. What's Kevin doing now? What the fuck is? Oh, he's breaking down the ships. I should give us some good material. Oh, potatoes are nearly ready to harvest. Oh, Nana's down again. Why is Nana down? What's wrong with her?
Probably either the malnutrition.
Food poisoning. Oh, yeah.
Oh, she's in the bed. It's fine.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a solar panel in a
6
second.
components
Come
from
on,
that fucking.
come on, Booker. Let's go, solar panel.
Yeah.
How much is that gonna generate? All right, the sun's going down straight away, so its power output is instantly disappearing. But at least it's right next to the battery, so it should pump them in. But I'm gonna put some power cables between them anyway.
I don't think it will actually. I think you need one cable between them. If you one cable in the middle, I think it should connect them both. Yeah, well, yeah, one. You don't even need to do that, Jackson. Just do one cable in the middle.
Look, in case we move stuff in the future. But hey, they were doing good for a second.
Yeah, once the sun comes back, they'll be like perfect.
Imagine Nana going to bed and waking up and suddenly there's like walls all around her. It's a house. She's like, oh my god!
He's like, what the fuck, guys? At least Kevin gets his own bed.
Yeah.
And Booker is hoarding steel.
Soon we'll be building their own bedrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's doing the cabling.
Cool. Is Booker doing it? Yeah, he's going to do some more crafting. Nice. Get the crafting skill for
This is why it's
us.
so good to have somebody who's a night timer, because you have production 24/7.
No, you're right. I've never had really anyone who's a night timer before. Oh, Booker is food poisoning. Great.
Hunter like suitable weapon.
Nana's awake. Quit the revolver. There we go. It's just because she dropped it.
She's just in the wall while he's building it. Booker's like, can you move, please? And she's like, oh, man.
She's eating and throwing up at the same time.
Shitting all over the floor, and he's just like, Nana, move! And away she goes.
Geothermal power. Oh, she's going to hunt. I told her to go hunt an iguana.
No.
Geothermal power would be great.
The only thing to hunt really is the iguana.
Yep. I would love her to hunt everything else, but it's not going to be possible.
Yeah,
Who needs rescue?
The ostrich
Booker?
and the emus are just too scary.
Yeah.
What? Why does he need rescuing?
Food poisoning. Oh, food poisoning.
One of our batteries seems to be broken down. What? How?
They kind of just break every now and again.
What? I've never seen that before.
I mean, I've had it happen quite a few times. Stuff will, like, not just batteries, but everything, like electric and mechanical, just sometimes break, and they just have to repair it, like using components and stuff.
I'm going to put a door in this building now.
Yeah.
Kevin's sorting it.
Oh no, he's not. He's fucked up the repair.
Bastard, Kevin. This is why your parents don't like you. Yeah, run off into the fields. Where did he go? Oh, he's gonna probably get like resources, isn't he?
Yeah, he's getting some components for us.
Wow, Nana, she nearly got this whole rock empty.
We got ourselves a happy little base.
Alright, happy is a bit of a choice. They all have food poisoning.
They're happy. It's a happy little base. Josh.
They all have food poisoning, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, they're going to have food poisoning a lot because they're all incompetent cooks, so...
Oh, fine.
Construction to do that. There we go. At least we have nearly all our batteries charged.
And Nana's out for the count too.
Oh, for God's sake.
Hey, at least Booker's awake to put her in the bed
Hey,
now.
someone can move them.
Hey, Booker, can you like work on rescuing Nana real quick?
Oh shit, wrong way.
Thanks, Booker. What a babe.
You're gonna have to insulate the fridge. Or the freezer, I think, maybe.
Cactus.
Cactus?
Cut. Oh, I can bulk do this. I know why.
There probably is.
I found the faster way.
Oh my god, there's so many ostrich and emus. Jesus.
I've marked every cactus on the map to
Oh,
chop down. The wood.
There is some... There's a Drago tree? What the hell?
Oh.
Kevin's
Kevin's having a
in
tantrum again. No, Kevin!
Kevin.
No! Kevin, no!
Oh, he didn't break the solar panels this time, it's fine.
He's just beating up the house instead.
That's fine, he can break his
stupid
hand.
House.
As long as he doesn't destroy our food.
I hate your house. I hate your house. Stupid house. Stupid cooler that's keeping us cool. Stupid bed. Stupid chair. Stupid wall.
God, he goes on for a really long tantrum. Jesus.
No, not the batteries.
Can you imagine if we broke a battery?
Bang! The entire thing goes.
Oh god. Oh, Nana hasn't got her pistol.
Yeah, because she passed out again.
Yeah. I need her to cook now.
Alright, how is he? He's sort of putting a roof over the place. Oh, because we've got a structure in place. It's going to collapse though, because we haven't got the walling done.
No, you'll stay up. You'll be fine. It'll be fine. We need. Have we got? Oh, we're waiting for the rice to be cooked. Okay.
She's recovering from food poisoning, but man, she's lacking recreation. She's so pissed off about the recreation stuff.
Oh, we need to
in
move
bed
that.
for a couple of days.
Let's move that there. Ah, oh, wonderful little home. It's fine.
Yes, fine.
It is. It's great. Nana's in a daze. Okay, I spoke too soon. Forgive me. I've never had this little resources ever on RIMWorld.
Yeah, especially after one of our guys decided to destroy so much of it.
Oh god, we would have been fine for so much. Right now, they're on the edge of like everything. The fact that they're still alive is a miracle. Booker, you need your rifle. By the way, you dropped that. Nana, you were cooking food for us. Oh, Nana, why? We got potatoes. We got fucking potatoes.
Told you it was a good option.
Oh, shit.
It's good.
Oh, the rice is frozen. Sweet.
Yeah, I set the cooler to be -5. Oh, it's what is it current?
Because I always set it to lower because I just like having it lower. It makes more sense in my head that it should be more than like,
yeah, but it's making
-5.
their bedroom minus, like, because the cooler it's making it minus. It should be 0. It should be 0 or
well,
-1.
you should have put the vent there. That's your fault.
It's actually to keep them happy. It should just be -1 or 2 because then that will go into positive temperatures, equalizing between it.
Look at you proper min-maxer.
I've been doing maths for this game,
really
right?
right?
I understand what the cooler does and how it should work. The dog just ate the rice!
Yeah, the dog does that.
Bastard ate all the rice! The dogs that I'm sitting right now,
lad.
we've been feeding them rice every day with their regular food because the first couple of days they were like at sicky stomachs. So we've just been giving them rice with every meal now just to not risk it. It's been going well. They like it. It's been padding them out. These dogs have no, like, recall, they don't know the names, they don't know when they're being told off. Really inconvenient when they're being naughty and you're trying to tell them off and they look at you with the blankest stare. Like, ears don't go down, face doesn't even look like sorry, no tail between the legs, they're just like, sorry, like,
what the fuck was that?
It's the dogs. Yeah.
Isn't Booker supposed to be asleep right now? Why is he awake? Oh no, he's back to sleep
He's
again.
finishing some stuff off, don't worry.
He didn't bug set his alarm for midday.
Nana's still having a
things.
psychotic wandering up here. She's just like having
That's fine, she can do that. Yeah. She's a woman, it's fine, they do that.
Okay.
It's alright, Imogen's not here, I can get away with that.
This man has a wife. Thinks he can say things like that.
Oh,
what?
for fuck's sake.
Kevin has the plague? Because he's about to sick on the floor. Kevin!
Right, Kevin's going to die because we have no way to treat the plague properly.
Kevin, can you clean up your fucking workspace too, maybe? Clean the barracks real quick. Just,
he can treat... Is Kevin... Yeah, you've put self-tend allowed for
yeah,
Kevin.
he can
Kevin
sort
can treat
out.
himself.
It'll be fine.
But because we don't have proper medicine...
It'll be fine! He can become immune, right?
Kevin's going to die. He can,
His immunity is currently going up faster than his... okay.
No? Are you sure about that? He's getting there, actually. He's getting faster than... He's kind of catching up to me now.
He can become immune faster than it can affect him, and then he'll be fine.
I think Kevin's going to die.
I think he'll be fine.
I think Kevin's going to fucking die. I think Kevin's going to be dead.
Oh, just rest him until healed. He's now out of commission.
Kevin, don't use your shit for research. There's some very good, important stuff in his shit.
So I'm just getting to...
Which is sister all.
I'm trying to maximise and making sure that Kevin knows by cleaning the barracks. Because we don't have sterile flooring, so we can't look after him properly.
We don't have any flooring.
This is true.
I mean, we need more limestone chunks. Oh, we have an ostrich! It's self-tamed!
We self-tamed! We self-tamed the ostrich? Right, that means we need to put down a... Oh, what's it called? Where is it? Where's the thing that I'm thinking of? Floors, recreation? No? That's called a misc. No, caravan hitching spot should do it. If we put that there, they'll fix the thing to it.
Yeah, and then they can just sit there. If we
The...
can get another one, we can breed them, and we can have ostrich babies, and then we can eat their babies. I mean, what?
I'm putting a tool bench here. I'm going to start moving these things inside. So reinstall
Yeah,
this
that's gonna do it.
here.
That doesn't get affected by the tool bench, I don't think.
I think it
The
does.
electric stove.
It's a stone cutting table.
Yeah, the stone cutting table.
Yeah,
does,
it
but not the
does. It
electric
does.
stove.
It has tool cabinet as a thing that's applied to it. If I put it next to it, once it's built, it will.
Yeah. I'm talking about the electric stove.
Oh yeah, no, that needs its own kitchen.
Yeah, I know. Because I saw you grab it, and I was like, that's what I was saying.
Yeah,
I don't think
I
that
thought
has
about
it.
it for a second, but it's not impacted by it. No.
Yeah, I know the stone cutting table does. That's fine.
All right,
And
Kevin, how
Nano's
you doing
cooking.
with your minor plague? Right, his immunity is now beating it.
Okay, he needs to be tended though. He's not tending himself.
Yeah, no, Booker. Because he currently can't be tended to for a little bit.
He can. He can be tended to. There we go.
You got Booker doing it. No, Kevin,
Yeah.
get back to bed. No, rest until healed. Booker can tend to him. He just needs to rest until healed.
Kevin's tending to himself, just like Kevin tend to himself.
He's gonna have Booker do it as well. Because Booker's
Because
also made
Kevin's got the better skill anyway. I know,
Yeah,
but Kevin's got the better skill.
Yeah, but Booker has 7.
And the quicker we
which is still
do
really
it, then the better. I
good.
think.
his immunity is just about like in line with his infection.
Yeah, this
So
is
I
why
think
I'm
he
saying I
survives
don't know. I don't know if he's going to survive. I think the plague will kill him maybe before.
I think it tank
just
it. It's
before
only
he
plague
finishes.
minor. Oh no, it's plague major. Right? Maybe.
He's plague major. Oh, he's got higher now actually.
No, it's in line. It's unfortunately it's in line. Okay, it's just
the
ahead. We need to not have him get out to
immunity's
bed
just
now.
ahead.
He's not allowed to leave
Yeah.
bed at all because if he leaves bed, he'll die. That's just how it's going to work. If he leaves bed now, he's dead.
He needs to treat himself as soon as we can. We need to watch that.
Get Booker to treat him.
No,
Booker do it.
why? Just get Kevin to
No, because if he
treat
gets out of
himself.
bed, he stops healing. You have to have
Yeah, but then you
get
just put it
Booker
back
to
in
do it.
again.
No, you need
Just
Booker to do
then
it.
just go
Trust
back
me. If he gets out of bed, it
You don't need
stops.
Booker to
The
do
plague
it.
will beat the other thing, and he will. It's how it
you'll be
works. That's how it
fine.
works. He'll die. If you have to get Booker to do it. Because
You'll
Booker
be
will he will
fine.
continue to heal while Booker then treats him, which means his immunity will get there before the plague will. If you get him out of bed, his immunity stops because he's no longer in a sterile, safe cleaning space. So you get Booker to do it.
Well, there you go. I've done that now because you were arguing for it, you little bitch. Just let him die. It's fine.
No.
Oh dear.
He's at
He should be immune
97% immunity.
Yeah,
with
he'll live
96% plague.
Yeah, he's
Come
he's gonna
on,
live.
come on,
He's gonna be
come
fine.
on, Kevin! You might be a bastard. Okay, develops immunity. Whole body. Woo! Woo! And it's going down. He's cured of the plague.
I should have let him die. He deserved it. After
No,
that
he's
fucking...
the smartest person.
Yes,
He's doing our
after the breakdown, I don't
research.
care. Kevin deserves to
Doing our
die.
research.
Oh, emos are passing through. Like, there's a herd of them. They do move in herds.
Don't walk in our base, please, emus. They are evil.
Goodbye.
Kevin, the scientist, is no longer capable of walking. This is good. Kevin, can you go back to bed, please?
He's alright. He's immune. He doesn't need to stay in bed. It doesn't matter. He doesn't need to stay in there until he's healed, so he's fine. Yeah, let him do his thing. We need him working.
I got rid of the plague. I'm shitting my guts up. Yeah, get back to work.
Even if he's still shitting himself, he's
You're
got
not
to
cooking dinner, and nobody else got sick from sharing the same bedroom as him when he has the plague.
Oh, this is good. Oh, we have 35 meals. Yeah, boy.
The only thing that he's pissed off about is the fact that he has no, Alright, smoke leaf plant. We're not gonna have. None of them can do any healing stuff anyway with plants. No, actually, no. Tell a lie. Booker can now do the healing plants. So that's another. I'm gonna do. I'll say that real quick. Brozone.
Oh, so has Booker leveled up so he can do it?
Yeah. So if I do all that. That
Oh,
can be
sweet.
heal root.
Oh,
Booker
that's
can
gonna
work
be
on that now.
good.
And we've also got smoke leaf that I'm gonna have them produce because they need it.
Make the smoke leaf smaller. They don't need that big of an area of smoke leaf.
Alright, I'll trade it. This
It's
one can be-
just
this
because
one can
it
go
takes
back
so long
be
to
heal
plant,
root,
and they get a lot of
this one
smoke
can
leaf.
be smoke leaf. There you go. They've traded over. Gonna have potatoes that are like really addictive and they don't know why. And it's because it's breeding with the smoke leaf. Gonna get that. It's a Pamako.
Oh god. Oh, we have so much power now. This is great. Let's reinstall this just in here for now. I set them nice and calm.
You know the electric stove. Do they also butcher stuff at the electric stove, or is the butcher table just the early?
No, you still need a
of...
butcher. You still need a butchering table.
Do we have a butchering table? We don't.
We have a butchering spot.
Right.
So at the moment they're just doing it outside. We do need a butchering table, which can just go next to it or in a separate room. I usually put it in a separate room just because of all the blood.
It's gonna have to be steel because we have nothing else, so it's gonna have to be like.
Don't put it steel. Can you not do it as limestone?
No, I can't. No option.
Oh, okay, that's fine. The ship to the stars. Oh yeah, that's our passage off world. That's our main quest. Fuck, there's a heat wave. There's a fucking heat wave.
No, they should be fine as long as they can finish building everything and moving stuff inside. They should be fine because the cooler is at now -10, which makes the bedroom nice and comfortable for them to sleep in.
Yeah, well that's not the problem. The problem is that outside it's 30 degrees.
Yeah, we just stop moving. We're waiting for them to just stop moving stuff inside. So if we get Kevin to like move
35
this,
degrees.
not a sound crafting, and not a sound crafting. I just want to move it. There we go.
Kevin's getting some stuff. Boy, 8 degrees outside. Fucking hell.
Then why don't we just take
Also,
this
none of our stuff
and
is now
reinstall-
refrigerated, so that's a big problem.
If we prioritize this real quick, then I can pick it up and just put it here. And now we just need to get power running back to it. Oh, it has power. So there we go.
Oh,
We just
yeah,
need
it's
to
already
get the
got power.
room
Yeah,
fixed.
I ran all the cables for it earlier, so.
Hey Booker, can you
Oh,
prioritize stone cutting real quick? Just because I know we need the farm stuff, but we also need to get this area blocked off so we can build it. Have you even put floor tiling in? Is that why everything is highlighted?
Yeah, I'll just queued it up. It's not a priority, but it's just something they can start.
This is area out here still classed as outdoors until we can put Oh, so you want to start to roam away? Oh, whatever. Where's Kevin? Why is Kevin and Booker blocked off on my thing? Oh,
They shouldn't be.
they were both going out for me then. I couldn't do anything with them.
They're all about to get heat stroke. Nice and chill. Actually, we don't want limestone
War
around here.
merchants isn't it here? Well, we don't care about them for now.
Oh, we haven't researched sterile stuff yet, have we? No.
Nope.
That's fine.
We're trying to get the food indoors first so we can grow it without having to worry about the outside world before anything else. Because we've got this whole...
No, that's fine. I just forgot. I forgot it was something that we had to research. That's all.
Kevin failed in constructing a steel butcher's table. You bastard, Kevin. Figure it out. Figure your shit out. How about
Don't do
Kevin?
the
How about
floor.
Kevin? Prioritize working on the fucking wall.
Yeah, I've just told him to do that. What? Did we just give you mixed signals, Kevin?
He's like, oh, let me run all the way upstairs to get some wood real quick. Hey, Nana, why don't you prioritize
Yeah, okay, he's already building the
on
table.
wall?
No, he needs to do the table because we need to be able to build limestone chunks. Otherwise, we can't build the wall.
We need the wall I'm getting Nana to try and do the wall as soon as. Just...
Yeah, I know, but we don't. I know what you're saying, but we need the.
Yeah, the longer they're in this space cooking,
table.
they're gonna get heat stroke.
I know, but we need the table because they're mining it out so that they can build more blocks. They need more limestone blocks because we're running out.
Oh, we ran out. I didn't realize we ran out.
Well, yeah, we're out of line. We are out. So
no,
we
we
need.
have loads of lands. We don't have any brick. We have loads of chunks.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We have chunks. Chunks is fine, but we don't actually have any limestone blocks. Yeah. So yeah, that's why we need that. Wait, hold on a minute. Why? Oh, that's the butcher table. I'm stupid. That's the butcher table, not the stonecutter's table. I'm getting confused now. Booker's doing that.
Yeah.
I'm losing my mind. I blame you for this. Right, Nana doesn't need to cook any more meals. I'm just gonna stop her from doing that.
Not again, Kevin!
At least he's destroying the house. That's fine. What's a drone drary? Is that just a camel?
Well,
we can hunt those without them killing us. Right. Nana, you get to work.
Kevin, keep banging the walls. Don't bang the medical bed. Don't bang your research table. There, throw up all over your chair. Kevin's no longer having a tantrum when he's gone to bed. Good.
I think we should build another cooler to try and keep our thingy cool.
Oh, what? Cool.
Another cooler to keep our fridge cool, because at the moment our fridge is like not doing well because of the heat wave.
Well, yeah. It's set to -10. It's doing its best.
Yeah, I know, but if we build 2, it might help. I don't know.
We just need him to finish building this. This is the one thing that I really need him to do.
What?
Nana cannot walk, apparently. She got heat stroke. No, she got food poisoning again.
Food poisoning is just a given, like at this stage.
I just want him to finish this wall, because then at least they'll stop building the roof over it. Did you just put that wall on that real quick, and then we have most of a complete building right now. There we go. At least I can stop putting a roof on this fucker. Finally. The sooner they can put a roof on it, the sooner that everybody has a better time. Ooh, my new shoes.
I mean, Kevin's just throwing up constantly. Nana's resting. Yeah. It looked like Kevin was throwing up on Nana for a second there.
I mean, all the potatoes are just outside because nobody else is set to... Who's set to horning at the moment?
Guys, don't do the floors. Just cancel the floors. Just do everything else.
Right, I'm gonna make them all prioritize hauling when they can, but just so they can get stuff into the fridge area faster. Because once they've done that little bit of hauling for this stuff here, they'll stop. We just need to get the veg.
I mean, it doesn't really matter too much because it's going to spoil inside anyway. So
yeah, but it's at least with the cooler.
Because the fridge is still the fridge is like 10 degrees. So oh, slick smooth, nice.
Yeah. Another ostrich self-tamed.
Oh my god, that's great. Are they? Oh no, we've lost one ostrich.
Yeah, one more
ostrich left. Is Nana not hunting yet?
There's an outside section. Cool.
Ooh. To be fair, we don't need Nana hunting.
Yeah, we got veg for now. All they're set to do is work on like simple meals anyway.
I don't know, usually on simple meals for life, to be honest. It's just if we could get the food, we could get the meat, we could stockpile it just for like later on. Oh, cargo pods. Oh, they're right next to us. Smoke leaf.
Let's go. Even better. I let the camels have moved in next to us. Bad idea, camels. Yeah, bad idea.
They'll leave in a minute, probably.
Camels are hanging near us and they're like, oh, what are these guys? Bang! Shot in the head. Oh.
What's Booker doing right now? Oh, he's planting. Oh, he went over. Thank God for that. Brill. Right, I want Nana to...
At some point, I'd like Kevin to clean up all the sick in the house. That'd be quite nice.
Get him, Nana. Get him.
Okay, can you just quickly wake up and just clean the barracks real quick? Thank you. You'll have a better night's sleep that way.
Get him. You walked away. What the fuck? Nana, you going for a walk? Oh, you piece of shit.
This whole area that we've got out here is classed as a workshop. Nice. I've told Kevin to prioritize cleaning it because look how much sick is inside it. He's got so much cleaning.
God, there's so much sick. It's absolutely crazy how much sick there is around this place.
Maybe if they all stop getting food poisoning. Yeah. Right, let's allow them to start working on the floor again.
Yeah, that's fine.
At least a little bit of the floods inside where the what's it called is.
Is Nana still killing? Nana, come on. Just, it's not hard. Just... Is it gonna... We're not gonna eat any food tonight.
They can have potatoes. They can boil them, mash them, put them in a stew.
That is true. We want meat.
I've been waiting to make that joke for nearly 2 hours.
Back on the menu, boys. It doesn't surprise me. Oh, there's another iguana. Cool, we can eat that.
I literally watched a Spiffing Brit video where he made that joke, and I was like, I'm stealing that. I'm using that.
You do know where that's from, right?
Yes, I do know where that's from. I heard him say
good.
it. Hey, Amma, that doesn't work anymore. You have to use channel points. There is now a redeem with channel points for doing the TTS.
You have to pay now with your channel points.
Yeah, there's Jester, there is Sergeant, and I haven't made one just for TTS yet that's random, but I'm working on that one.
Have you got rid of the light in the bedroom?
No. Kevin broke it.
Kevin?
Try resync. Sorry, I desynced. Right now. Oh, it's still free. It's just channel points. You don't have to pay bits. It's still free. Yeah, I got a desynced because I tabbed out into something else.
Oh, okay.
I will be putting regular TTS back in with channel points, but it's going to be dirt cheap. And it's going to be like... Just as the drill sergeant. Why didn't that go off? This worked earlier. Why isn't it working now?
It's not working now.
Teleport to also country. Yeah, but it's only for time, not for money. No, it isn't working. What the hell? Streamer bot, speaker bot.
Right, why you do that? I want to kill Kevin.
Yep. Channel rewards. Drill sergeant. Yes. Say input. Enabled. Bring back the whisper? No. You're not the one who has to pay for this hammer. I am. There we go. It should be working again now. I don't know why it wasn't enabled. I'm going to refund that as well. It should be marked for me to be able to refund it if it doesn't go through. Let me check that real quick. Because I ain't trying to scam, I'm just trying to have me... Nope, not private window.
I ain't trying to scam you. He's a scammer.
Wow. You know me.
Scams me all the time.
I have no response to this. This accusation. This one enabled. Add a new one. It's going to be called TTS. Random TTS. It's going to cost 400. It's going to be slightly cheaper because it's randomized. Cooldown limits 1. You're required to enter text for that.
You're going to scam me is what a cat scammer would say.
And I need to link that to my
It's
bot
like a Soother's
real quick.
ending.
So I have to go here, I have to go TTS, I have to go voice alias test, enable, I have to go Jester, I have to take the raw input from here, put that there, click add, and say input. There we go.
I'm repairing the walls that he broke.
That's a new one added, and now if I go back to my stream manager, I can go to, where's my tab for this? Reward queue? Drill Sergeant. Reject, 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 reject. This was all working earlier when I tested it, and reject that one too to refund the points. There you go, Emma. Have your points back. Wasn't working. I don't know. It should be working. It's the TTS is on follow stuff. Foobar, Rimworld, Speakerbot is on this one. Settings? Is it because it's my output changed? It should be default. And then Speakerbot, advanced audio properties. Where are you, Speakerbot? Yeah, no, it's on. I need to monitor it.
Look, he's level 9 plants now. Jesus, he's really getting those plants skill up.
Alright, I just need to test this real quick, make sure this is working by going here, going here, going to TTS, and going testing.
Oh, she walked past the Ancient Danger, okay. Whew.
Oh god, why isn't that working now? This was working earlier, and now it's not working.
Because they don't like you. Knows you're a scammer.
We'll just delete these, I think. And speak generic. Yeah. It was working earlier. I tested this off stream and it worked perfectly. And now I'm using it now and it's just not. Definitely not going to work out. Just minimize the bot.
Sounds about right. Technology for you.
Streamer bot? Oh, I just closed speaker bot now. Speaker, not bot, is it?
Thrombo. Oh my god, there's Thrombo here. Not worth the risk.
I just reloaded it, so it might work now. I don't know. It's either going to work or it's not. If it doesn't, I'll figure it out later on. I've just had the game running in the background. Ancient Danger? Who walked near the Ancient Danger? Nana walked near some Ancient Danger.
Nana did it. It's fine. No worry. She just walked near it. I was like, oh, what's this?
A Psycho Sooth Pulsar. It seems to maybe an unknown threat. That could actually be pretty good to get very early on.
Yeah, but we've only got 3 people.
Yeah, but Kevin is cured of the plague now. We could send Kevin with a gun.
We're not sending Kevin.
Kevin know how to use a gun? Sort of knows how to, yeah.
Kevin will die. As much as I want Kevin to die, I do not want him to die. We need him.
You earlier were like, oh yeah, let Kevin die of the plague.
I do.
Like, I don't want Kevin to die.
Because I want him to die of the plague.
Make
the plague
up your mind, man. Make up your mind. The plague is not fun.
Dying of the plague is fun. You can die of the plague.
We need to start planning out inside this mountain what our layout's going to be.
Well, we can do that if we go architect, and there is a way to do it, to zone it out. Oh, if we go orders, and then there's a plan bit.
Orders.
And then plan on the far right.
Paint building, smooth surface claim, forbid, allow, all.
Further right. You've got like a little square
bit. Yeah, mine's rolled over to the top. Mine's plan here. Okay.
Oh, okay. So you can section it. I've seen people do that, and then they put like S in it for like storage, like M for medical and stuff like that. So we can do the same basically. So we can't build on the sand because the sand isn't strong enough. But we can build everywhere else pretty much. So, or I do not draw a penis. I thought you were going to draw a penis. Oh, Quasimodo just got the plague. No, Quasi.
I drew a cake.
Yeah, I didn't know they could get the plague. Oh,
Colin when he's
Nana's
rescued.
just collapsed.
Yeah,
Food poisoning.
Oh,
I think.
She'll figure it out.
She's used to it by now.
Yeah, she'll be fine.
Kevin's construction skill is going to go up quite nicely here.
Botches the next brick he puts down.
Fuck's sake, Kevin.
How did you botch putting a brick on the floor, Kevin?
He's nearly 7. I don't know what he started off as. He's 60. He's 50 years old and he's working. He's working away. He's a good lad, Kevin. Look at him go.
Causing him the plague. And Kevin is.
Kevin's smoking because he's hungry.
Oh. Let me smoke some weed because I'm hungry, yeah?
God. It's hilarious. That sounds about right.
That's fine. One of them will figure it out eventually. Do forever.
Yeah.
Simple meals first.
At least we have a lot of
meals.
him for him to smoke. We have 38, so he can go and use those smokes. That's fine.
Can't wait for Kevin has got cancer because of smoking.
What's Booker doing right now? He's going for a walk. Well, you know what?
He's in his recreational time.
Right.
He's in his recreational time.
That ended very quickly. He's now sewing.
Why did you make him sew?
I didn't. I generally didn't.
Well, his recreational time's quite short. He did sleep through some of it.
He's got like 10 seconds of recreational time. Oh, we have so much power, it's great, but we still haven't built the stuff around it yet. At least you have a decent amount of limestone blocks now, so you should be able to build everything, nearly. Oh, I see you have the mining tool out.
Yeah, I've marked the bits. That's the part I'm going to do first off, and then we're going to go and do it bit by bit, because obviously if we go from the other side and we go through this compact machinery tile here, and it turns out that there's actually more of that underneath that, then, you know. Our collection of treasures ended. Has anybody tended to Quasimodo yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, for God's sake, Nana just died straight away. Well, she not died, she's collapsed again. But she can crawl.
Yeah, she can
Kevin just walked past her, she's crawling.
Kicks her in the head. Stop, bitch. Stop getting sick. She's like, oh, Kevin!
Kevin, help me, please.
Help me up!
Fuck
No!
off, sickness. Hell no.
I had the plague, I'm not helping you.
Did you help me when I had the plague? No.
Yeah. I had to get up and tend to myself. Book is in the corner. I helped! Gets in the kitchen, like in the bedroom with them, eats with them.
Oh dear.
There's still not built a roof over this area here yet, which is confusing me.
Have they not?
Has it been marked for...
It's marked for roof.
Yeah, it's marked for roof. I don't know why they haven't built it yet. Oh, because there's a bit of wall here that they've not been finished building. That's why.
Fuck's sake, Kevin. Honestly,
Kevin,
get your head into the game.
Can you fucking build this wall, you prick? And put a roof over everyone's heads. And there's also the reason why is this section now they can build a roof over. I don't know if they can because of this one steel column.
Oh yeah, we need to move that. Let's move that out. Or did I just build a copy? Yeah, I did because I can't move it. That's fine. You can. You can't move it like that. Just build a copy for now, and we'll just deconstruct the other one. Yeah, need it there just so the whole building doesn't collapse on their heads.
Yeah, and squash Quasimodo again.
I mean, Quasi's probably going to die from the plague, I think.
He's an iguana, he'll be fine.
What's his health at? What's he at?
87%, but his immunity's catching up to... Oh, I don't know. Hey, Booker, can you quickly just prioritise... No, a manhunter pack? Of guinea pigs?
Nana to go.
Not
More
again!
guinea pigs?
2 more
What the
guinea
fuck
pigs!
is wrong with these guinea pigs? Oh, there's loads more animals to kill there. Booker's getting slaughtered by guinea pigs. For fuck's sake. Is he bleeding?
He's
He's
down for the
going to
count.
die in
Right,
16 hours.
I've sent Nana on the draft to.
Oh, I've sent Kevin to go do it, and Nana can cover.
No!
Oh my god! Drop Booker.
Booker.
Oh.
You're gonna have to figure this out.
Kevin's done it. It's right. Kevin can kill the last one, and then they can crawl.
How injured is Booker from his injuries?
He's very
Scratches
injured.
and bites and a crack, and Nana has food poisoning and bruises. That'll be fine. We're gonna turn we're gonna turn another one of the beds then into a medical bed.
Medical, yeah. Nana, you are like perfectly fine except for the food covering. There we go. That's just what I thought, you little bitch. Honestly.
Jesus
Nana
Christ.
is the weakest member of this group.
She can have the bolt action rifle there.
Quasimodo stuff.
No! My boy! So I'm just figuring out where to bury him. There's a dead.
In my ass.
There's a dead animal over here. What? When did they?
Yeah,
put
there's
this
dead animals everywhere, and I don't know why.
Why did they put this?
I don't think Nana.
When did the dromedary die for them to put it there?
I think Nana killed it, and then she didn't haul it for whatever reason to the storage.
Right, Kevin, can you prioritize like?
Kevin's treating Booker first.
To be fair,
Booker is now
technically
fine.
Kevin can consume Quasimodo because he's immune to the plague.
Is that how that works?
Technically, yes, that is how that would work. And then Kevin, when you wake up, I want you to prioritize.
As if they got the same plague. What if they got a different plague?
I think it'll be fine. We've just put the plague-ridden iguana in the food room, by the way. I just wanted to prioritize clean the barracks real quick.
That's okay. Yeah, the barracks needs a good clean.
Yeah, there's a dead iguana in there for a bit. Gross.
We need more limestone chunks soon.
Yeah, Booker will get on that when he's healthy.
Yeah. God's sake. How was it when he got destroyed by 2 guinea pigs?
It's why I put everybody into attack mode when anytime there's any type of raid like that.
Oh no, I agree, yeah.
I just select all 3 and just put them all bunched together. I'm going to start designing the outside of the base for how I want the... You're
going to set up a trap corridors and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
We don't have enough anything other than... So I can only make it out of wood, and we don't have a lot of wood. So it's going to have to be steel. We don't have a lot of steel either. So
don't worry. We'll get steel plentiful soon.
So I can't do any of it then. Because what we need outside is...
I mean, you can just draft it out with a plan.
We need another limestone wall, so I'm going to put one out here for now.
Or you can build the wall and just don't allow it to be built. Just like put steel stuff down and just don't allow it to be built, and then when we have the resources, just build it.
I'm building the sand, so that's going to have to go there. And
yeah, the sand is a problem.
Then we need...
I don't know if it'll set wood. If we can get enough wood, you could build one.
I think I've just
but I don't think we'll
I've just done this wrong. Let me...
Oh, Booker and Nana are playing together.
Except for that one. And then every spot next to that, if I go into here and go here, we put a trap here, 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 and here. We just move this to out here. And then put that there.
Booker doing? Oh, he's still sewing the area for the healing route.
How are they having a comfortable sleep when it's -6 in their bedroom? I'll never know.
Honestly, I actually like sleeping in a cold room.
I don't know why, but -6. I've done that for quite a few years. Not
I wouldn't
exactly
mind that. I don't think
it's not the most comfortable. Don't forget there was a good there was a good 9-year period where I had no heating in the house, so I have done minus sleeps. It's not great.
Oof.
It's not great.
That's rough.
God, having heating in the house is such an underrated thing until you don't have heating.
It's because most places just have it, don't they? Without any issue.
Yeah, well, during COVID, I had a chest infection. I've told you this. I had a chest infection and I was really ill and had no heating at home and had no heating at work. Like, I was ill for a good month. It was horrible.
And they shouldn't have COVID. God, that was horrible.
I tested and it was negative for that. A factory worker is passing by. She's named Palola Pierce.
Does she want to join us? No.
No, she's just passing by.
Oh, she got a fucking machine gun too. Damn.
But she's incapable of being smart, cooking, artistic, or social.
That's fine. She just needs to
Don't
kill.
walk around our batteries like that.
You've got nice batteries.
Where's Kevin currently?
He's hauling.
Clean the storeroom up, Kevin. It's full of sick.
Do you know what's sick in the storeroom?
No.
It's healthy to have sick in the storeroom. Oh dear. Is there any wildlife we can kill and hunt? There is. Nana, I want you on hunting.
Oh, Booker doesn't have a bed at the moment. Oh, I see why. Give me a second. I'll sort it.
Oh yeah, because he set one to medical.
Yeah, set one to medical just to make sure they live. How have we gotten this far and we've had nobody join? We've been going for like about 2 hours.
I don't know. Yeah.
Randy, Randy, give me a person. Randy,
this is Randy. If we're on Cassandra, he'd be
Randy!
fine. What's Booker doing? He's still sewing his heel root. Jesus Christ.
Look, if this was Cassandra, I think we'd be dead by now because everything died. Need warm clothes? Why do you need warm clothes? Is it because you're sleeping in a bedroom that's -5?
The outer temperature is going to reach minus. It's because it's going to reach 2 during like the late nights, basically.
Alright, I'm turning off the vent then for now. Are any of them assigned to do that work? Yeah.
To do what?
Basic. One of them will sort it at some point. I've turned the vent off.
Oh yeah. Why is there 4 dead Droom Dairy? Why are we not hauling this shit?
I think they all just died in the desert and we didn't know.
I think they're dying because they get shot and then they bleed out.
I don't know.
Because they're not fresh. Oh, they're dead for less than a day.
Yeah.
No empty accessible spot configured to store it. Oh, what's our storage? Can we not do it in here?
Storage, allow fresh, and corpses are allowed. Animal corpses are allowed.
Oh, they're not rotten corpses, so it said it was fresh on them anyway.
Yeah.
Is it just because it's not big enough?
I assume it's because it's not big enough.
Fuck. Okay, we're gonna have to make that bigger.
So she's hunting another one. No, wait, cancel that one.
What? Oh, yeah. Okay, I see.
She'll break me cooler.
She killed it yet? No, it's bleeding out. I don't want dead drone dairy all around the fucking place. People won't want to come and visit. They'll think we're weird. Right, there you go. She's grabbed it. Oh no, she's murdered it. Right. Yeah, no accessible spot. Great. We're just killing animals for no reason. Where is it upping her shooting skill?
That switch really can't be that full. We have 8
I don't know if the animal's just too big. Storage just isn't big enough. Like, yeah. I don't know. If you put storage on the floor for just the animal, they might just
that is probably the other thing we need to do. Is just we haven't zoned this area as a stockpile zone.
Yeah.
If I do that and then do the same settings. So if I do allow rotten, fresh foods,
just
corpses, but not humanoid corpses.
Yeah.
Raw resources. Stone blocks, no. Plant matter.
I'm getting Kevin to grab it now.
Yes. Gold, jade, plat steel. The steel, no. The uranium, no. The wood, no. That should sort it.
Booker, sorry, is hoarding the dead animals for us now.
There we go. That should sort it.
Yeah, they're going there now, bro.
Another quest. A reinforced barrel? No.
I mean, we can make a mortar from that.
So we can tackle the sand people that have came nearby.
They might. That did not sound like that. Sounded like a fucking sea creature when you get to the Sea Life Centre. A seal. Yeah, that's Oh god. Are you still dog sitting? Because if you are, the dogs are going to be like freaking out. Like, what the hell is he doing?
Dad's says Dad's off work. He goes on holiday on Saturday.
Okay. Oh, sweet.
I'm getting booked to make more episodes of I Have the House to myself from Saturday. Well, me and the Greyhound, because dogs are going home tomorrow, and then having the Greyhound then onwards. And so I'm setting up a projector tomorrow afternoon.
Okay, cool.
So I'll be watching films and stuff downstairs with the Greyhound, doing more stuff downstairs during the day. So I'm really figured it out. I was just going to set my MacBook up to it. I was going to find a way. Want to make sure I might be able to move my Apple TV downstairs and run everything through my Apple TV and stream it all across the house. So this seems like the easiest way. Because I really like having a projector screen and having a projector. Really like it. It's one of my favourite.
Why is Booker awake during the day? What have you done?
I kind of told him to cut some more limestone. Because I'm getting really peed off that things aren't finished. Things aren't finished, I'm getting peed off.
Well, you've got 60, it's fine. He needs to rest. Oh, now we're being attacked. The raid by the wasps.
Okay, right. Let's
there's one guy.
Get all of them and just put them all drafted.
Put them all on that side, yeah.
Because they put them all here.
No, put them all on the outside of the wall. Let them shoot. He's not attacking you anyway. It's only one guy.
Yeah, but we want to be prepared for when he does.
Oh, he's unwaveringly loyal too. He's got good shooting skill. Oh,
well, we can't capture him anyway. Yeah, we have to kill him.
Yeah. You like to hide him, don't you?
Yeah, I like him to be protected.
To be fair, leave him undrafted for now because they're not attacking. So let them do their thing until they attack.
But they separate off and they need to bring him in. That's the thing.
Fine.
I keep them drafted together. At least leave her drafted on the corner here. She can sit here. She's an early warning system.
I mean, we'll know when they attack because it comes up saying that they're ready to start it. So, ooh,
a meteorite. Gold ore?
Oh wow, that's a lot of gold. We can save that.
I'm keeping an eye on him.
You'll get a notification. Have you not ever seen it before?
No, I usually attack them straight away. Usually it says when that pops up, that's the raid notification for me.
You get two different ones. So you get one that says raid, and then sometimes they stop and they don't attack you straight away. It says in the box, and then you get a notification that they're attacking you. There you go in the top left. Can you see that?
Oh.
Pirates from the Wasps are beginning their assault.
He's even going the wrong way, bastard.
Yeah, I've done now. Get him!
And I put them next to walls because they use it as cover if they ever need to.
I know. Send in Kevin. Get him.
You're back, Nana.
Stab him.
She can't hit him, so I'm going to move her out until I get her protected.
Nice. Sweet. We have medicine. Don't let them wear those clothing by corpses. Don't let them wear those.
Why?
Because it's tainted. They don't like wearing clothes off dead people. If he was still alive, strip him. But if they're not,
I just let them wear whatever they like.
Oh no, wearing tainted clothes really affects their morale and stuff. All their happiness. Sorry.
Nah, they'll get over it.
No, they're not wearing tainted clothes. Not allowed.
But one of them needs to at least get rid of the body. How do we tell them to dump the body?
They should move it to that bit that you put on the thing,
yeah.
I believe.
I have set it to allow human bodies, haven't I? Yeah, I have. This is out of the way. They get around to it. He's just not hauling it just yet.
Yeah, he's got other things to do. You don't need to move a dead corpse. He's chopping down all the
cactuses.
Yeah, who needs to move a dead corpse?
His mood has been negatively impacted by the fact he has seen a corpse. It expires in
Oh,
9
these guys
hours.
have hypothermia because they still haven't turned off the switch. There we go. Got nothing to do
Imagine it's like scalding hot outside and you're dying of hypothermia because somebody didn't close the fan on the cooler.
Nana's like, Kevin, you do it. I can't do it.
My bones are too cold.
Oh, fucking hell.
Nana, who's 34, is like, my bones are too cold. And Kevin's like, I'm 49 and I'm pissed off. Look who's 23, he's just like, I saw a dead body and I'm not happy about
God.
it.
Okay, we need to clean our home. Oh, outdoors is 8 degrees. This is
Kevin to do it.
4. Oh no, it's because it's night time. Okay,
Yeah.
just ignore me.
I'll get Kevin to do it when they need to. Have you marked that? I'll do that real quick. Oh yeah.
Marked what?
The gold.
Mark nut.
Right. Mark nut!
It's fair, it's not super important, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I've got a video saved for Gavin and
Is it Gavin and Jeff doing the walk around Achievement City?
yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I've got it saved.
Can you tell I've watched it?
Or you've seen it. Yeah.
Oh, the moment it came out, I was watching it 10 minutes later. I was like on that. I love that sort of stuff. Oh, they're also busting up the. Oh, fucking have to keep building this bloody.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to keep expanding it. It's because there's silver there, and we need the silver. So.
No. We'll put this across here like this.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to do it. Actually, what you've just done there.
We put a copy and put a door there.
Yeah.
Oh, at least she's following the designated path for mining, which is good.
Wait, that's what you told to mine, isn't it? So.
Yeah, so she's gonna go through and find all the silver ore.
Gonna be rich, rich upon your wildest dreams.
Oh, I don't remember my dreams.
You just dream of this. You don't dream of anything else, apparently. So.
Yeah, this is true. I don't remember what I do in the game. I just know that I dreamt about the game.
You know, we sleep tonight, and then your dad's just gonna hear you going, Kevin, no.
No, what he's gonna hear me is we wake up to my PC on and then start playing again. To be fair, no, I won't be asleep tonight because I don't go to sleep anymore.
You sent me a message at 2 o'clock this morning. I was like, what the fuck?
Don't out me like this! Don't out me like this! Don't expose me!
I saw it and I'm like, what the fuck?
Did he
like,
wake you
why
up?
is he
Was
up
it-
at like
was it-
2 o'clock? No, he didn't wake me up. I was asleep. Nothing wakes me up when I'm asleep.
You woke up to see that message at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I woke up this morning and I was like, why the f... He's up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, God, man.
I mean,
This is...
I went to bed at 4 o'clock. In the morning. And I've done that 3 days back to back. Today I overslept let the dogs out alarm and Dad slept in as well. So they didn't get their breakfast till gone 9 o'clock. Usually they get it at like 7:45. So I came down at 11 and was like, what time did you get up? He's like 8:45. I'm like, oh, we both overslept and didn't coordinate that one.
God.
My bad. Let's see.
Oh, we need Kevin to... Oh, we're missing limestone blocks.
Hey Booker, can you prioritize stone cutting? Thank you, Bookie Boo.
Oh, I don't want the camels to spoil. They're gonna have so much meat. Oh, fuck's sake! Solar flare.
Oh, because it's not because of the way it is. They can't build a roof yet. Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. Solar flare affects everything anyway.
It's true.
What are you talking about? The cold?
What about the cold? The temperature of the storage is.
Yeah, it's not staying cold, is it?
Yeah, no, it's treated.
Kevin,
like it's
no.
outside now.
Prioritize the wall. We're gonna build a wall. The wall. Oh, there's loads of compact machinery in there. There's loads of
why I
stuff.
did it like this to try and sort that. Kevin, build
You
more
need
wall.
to do strip mining. You need to do strip mining. Ooh.
Yeah, I am strip mining.
Oh, the
because
cat's jumping out the window, even though she could go through the cat flap. Okay, bye, cat.
Bye, cat. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow.
Meow, 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 mew.
Build the bloody wall, Kevin! Stop building
Yeah.
the floor!
I'm glad you did that. I was about to tell Kevin to build the fucking...
For fuck's sake, you asshole! Stop building!
He's done it now, it's
At
fine.
least if you're gonna put the floor in here.
Oh dear. Major break risk, Booker. Nana is digging. She can cook if she wants to put on a priority 3.
She can cook if she wants to. Oh my fucking
Oh,
god!
the wall.
Stop!
I wonder what smoothing the wall looks like. I've never actually smoothed a wall before. Does it just turn it into a limestone wall?
Why has he just put a rooftop over this section here, but not finished the section here that's indoors? Has he finished? Has he put a roof over this yet? It's classed as indoors. Yes,
No.
he has. He has. Cargo pods.
Oh, more cargo pods. More smoke leaf!
Let's go! How fast our mice jump over there to have a look.
I know. Oh, God.
Look at what you're up to. Alright, do your job.
Yeah, Nana is going to prioritize butchering at the steel table next, so these things don't
Somebody could prioritize getting rid of the body.
Oh, one of them's rotting. No.
They'll get rid of it. Leave it. They'll sort that.
Yeah.
That stockpile area is told to not allow rotting food.
At least we have 45 food now, so.
Yeah, they should automatically just dump it.
Yeah. Booker's harvesting at night. That's when he does his best work.
Why is Nana not set to do any hauling?
Because I turned her off at the time. Instead of I don't like hoarding on one because it just means they just get stuck hoarding forever rather than doing other important
I find
things.
it makes it a lot easier because it stops them from like leaving food to rot. It gets them to clear out rotted food quicker, which stops them getting ill.
I mean that's fair, but I think I want to turn Nana off hoarding because she doesn't need to hold. She's got all the tasks to do.
I mean,
she can use that to cook though. She can then go straight to cook with it. But now she's going to play horseshoe instead.
Kevin, instead of lying outside, and how about instead of doing the floor? I know.
The floor is important.
I guess you could do the door. See, now I'm gonna get Kevin or Booker to hold this dead animal. It's stinky. He took the most unoptimal route out of the house as well. He went through the storage to the corner, which makes it not work anymore because they keep running through the wall.
The wall.
Hey Booker, I need you to wake up and make some stone blocks real quick. When you wake up, that's all I need you to do because they keep fucking the walls up. It's going to kill all our food. There we go. A simple meal is rotted away in storage.
Rotting away. Rip. It's fine. Nana's cooking more meals for us. It's okay.
Yeah, but it spoils quicker. Because they keep digging bloody holes in the walls. Because half our walls are mountains.
It's alright. Kevin's gonna get the Booker. Sorry, he's getting some more chunks.
What the fuck
He's
is
gonna
Kevin
do
doing?
it.
Oh, he's just smoothing
He's
the wall.
smoothing out the wall.
Why?
I told him to. I don't want it to be rough walls. What if they get poked by something? You know, bad for him.
I'll
That
fucking
get-
poke
that
him with
Finn-
something.
Finn is still dead. He's still lying outside dead.
I know, nobody's dealt with him yet.
That's hilarious. No, Kevin! Build the wall! You're doing the floor again.
He's like, I really like the floor! No!
There we go, it's fine, it's done.
You dumb bitch, Kevin. That's the reason we don't like you!
Oh, dear.
There we go. It's better.
Alright, Booker, you can do whatever the fuck you want now. It's fine.
They're technically sleeping
I want the
outside again because
batteries
of
to
the lack
have
of
their
this.
thing around them. They haven't had. I don't
Kevin,
know why
can
they
you
didn't build this.
Kevin, can you just quickly build this wall? Thank you. Just make it a room again. Thank you. There we go. There's a tiny gap between the stone and the wall, but you know that technically counts as it being inside now. Apparently.
I mean, we could just do that and that just closes it off for now, and then we can expand it out for a bit.
Yeah, because we're gonna have to build. Where I started pathing to do my little thing before we like mined all this out, it has already shown that there is ore that's gonna go deep, and same on the other side with the compact machinery. And we need to also get Kevin at some point back on research so we can start researching our indoor farm.
Yeah, I know. Once he's done building this lot, then we'll get him back on research.
Yeah.
Oh man. At least we have a lot of rice and potatoes now.
Yeah.
Food is like no longer a problem.
I just wish they put that rice inside like they should be doing. I messed up here.
No, they are putting it inside eventually. It's just that they've got all the tasks to do.
Nana's got food poisoning again.
I'm not surprised. It's because the cooking area is dirty because we don't have sterile materials yet, and it's not clean as well. It's just the area is just disgusting.
Kevin over here building more floor, but there's still this entire wall that we've been waiting for them
To
to
be fair,
build for like 10
you say they
hours.
haven't hauled it in yet, but it's like not too much of a problem because it spawns in like 30 days. So.
Oh. Also, look at
But
all
then
that
I guess
hill route that's nearly ready to go.
Yeah, that's gonna be so good when we get that. Oh, Nana's dead again.
I've got Kevin set to rescue.
Oh, she's making kibble. You got kibble down.
Yeah, dog like kibble. Somehow, in all of this, Mustache unfazed by anything going on.
Much has to stay true. He's always been with us. Or she's always been with us, sorry. Throughout everything.
Unlike the stupid iguana which died.
And the ostrich that just left.
Iguana. Hey Kevin, while you're awake, can you quickly just clean the barracks? She's like being sick on the floor, and he's like, "I'm trying to clean them as fast as I can." Kevin, that doesn't count as the barracks.
I love how we clean the outer area.
Yeah, the outer corner.
Yeah. Booker, you need to do some more stone blocking, please.
God, they just don't have the priorities straight, do they?
They don't.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, Nana's starving. That's fine. She'll be fed soon.
Yeah, somebody shove some food in her mouth real quick.
Just eat this, Nana. Nice and peaceful at night time. This is where Booker does his best work.
Apparently, the Battlefield 6 multiplayer reveals today, and it's coming out on October 10th.
Yeah, I knew the reveal was happening. I was going to watch it, but then
I saw a bunch of streamers were streaming the multiplayer because they always do that. I'm not going to get it. I
want to wait and I want to watch the trailer after this, and I'm going to see what it's like.
No,
and
don't put it away, you dumb bitch, Nana. Pick that shit up. Equip it, Nana. Stop petting the dog and equip your rifle. She's shoving kibble in the dog's mouth.
That's funny. Oh my god, there's so much Battlefield stuff. You've never been one to play the Battlefield games, have you? I don't think. Have you ever played any of them?
Yeah, I have. I used to play. I used to play Battlefield 3 and I think 4 with you and Connor Brandon.
Oh yeah, you did. I remember now.
Yeah, way back in the day, I used to. I just, I have no interest in them now, really.
I mean, that's fair. Oh.
They've just never really been my priority to play. Just doesn't.
I just hope that I really love them because they were just because they were always so good for me anyway. Because I always enjoyed those type of games. But I just hope they go back to how they were before.
Yeah, Battlefield 3 was peak. Battlefield 4 was pretty good for me. There's something about them. I smoked it. Alright, whatever. But Titanfall 2 peaked for me as a shooter.
Oh, I know. You've never
I've never nothing has ever landed as well as that did for me.
Yeah.
Like I tried Apex.
I don't think it ever will for you though, as well.
Yeah, that's it. I've dropped off from those style games now. I just don't care enough anymore.
You're just not interested in those games.
Yeah, just got other stuff to play, other stuff I want to go through.
Yeah.
Kevin's just having a smoke outside. Good on him.
Yeah, why not?
Decent enough to walk away from the colony to go and smoke outside. Oh, I just realised that we can...
Oh yeah, I've said it to deconstruct already, so...
I didn't realise I was zooming in on that. Who's exhausted?
Kevin's exhausted from all the smoking he's doing.
Well, my lungs really hurt.
I smoke too much.
Well, I'm the bleed. My lung hurt. Alright, we can probably tell Kevin now to focus back on research. Construction.
Yeah, get him to focus back on research, is fine.
Put that back on 1. You can still priority clean and haul, but you can also just research.
Oh, he's got a really good construction skill now, Kevin has. Kevin's like a primary constructor.
Oh, that's true. Well,
Medicine is low because it is 0, but we have loads of heal root that is ready to harvest, like now, so...
I'm letting him have his recreational time where he's doing the hauling. He can haul, and he can... research.
Yeah, let him haul, that's fine. You need to fucking clean this place up. Nana's getting her cooking skill up.
One of his priorities is to clean, so when he doesn't researching, he'll run around and do it. Kevin's is. And once we've done that, we'll have hydroponic basins, and then we can do the tree stuff, so we can get wood growing inside.
Is there any wildlife to hunt? No. Not ones that won't try and kill us anyway.
Yeah. Well, I've put down the steel electric tailor bench, because at least then we'll be able to slowly start, like, making clothes, like parkas. Set it to make 5 parkas, and then once I've made 5 parkas, they're done. And also to make leather infinitely, to make parkas with.
Look at our little settlement thriving nicely. There's only 3 of them still though, which annoys me.
It's annoying me as well, because when are we going to get the random event that gives us an extra person? Huh, game? Huh?
Yeah.
We survived the plague, give us another person! Kevin, after a hard day of hauling, is like, I'm going to bed, having done no research, which is why I took you off the hard jobs, you little shit. At least they only smoke... Unless they're binging it, they only smoke if their mood is below 30 or 40% for recreational or for their mood stat, so they shouldn't be like.
I mean, the mood is always going to be low for Kevin and Nana because they don't have their own room share.
Yeah, that's fine. They'll get over it.
I know. I know they will eventually, yeah. What's Booker doing? Oh, he's harvesting heal root. Sweet. Oh, beautiful. We have some medicine. Oh, we ran out of limestone chunks again.
Hey, Booker, when you're ready.
She's training. Have you set Mustache to be trained?
No, it just does it passively on its own by following Book around sometimes.
Ah. She's getting trained to rescue.
Yep, and haul eventually.
Sweet. What's up, Ahsoka? I'm gonna have to lock you in a minute, cat, because otherwise you'll get bullied.
Yeah, I'm gonna come around and picking your cat outside your house. You'll be lying in bed tonight. Jackson, stop picking on the cat, stupid animal!
Wow.
Stop it! Stop pushing my cat around. No.
My poor cat. Oh, Booker. Oh, there's an eclipse. Sweet. Where is she? Is she? Oh, she's there. Right. I'll be back in a second.
Kevin's on his cleaning spray. Let's go. Don't have to clean up outside too, Kevin. Come on. I mean, it helps because there is a bunch of sick outside you can clean up and a bunch of blood, but like, maybe prioritize cleaning the bedroom, you know? If you're going to be cleaning outside... Another iguana.
God, my legs hurt. My body hurts. I was ripping up carpet yesterday, so now everything aches.
You're having your carpet taken out, aren't you?
Yes, yeah. So we had to rip it up. So I ripped it up yesterday, and we've had laminate flooring down today, and it looks great. We've also changed the layout of the room a little bit too. So
nice.
It's yeah.
I have to, in a couple of weeks' time, my stepdad's parents are moving into a bungalow because his mum's got really bad dementia, so she doesn't walk anymore. She can't go upstairs anymore. So they're moving to a bungalow, and I got drafted to sort that. And what is it? Mustache has the flu. No, Mustache. No, my little dog boy. He's got the flu. It's only a minor flu. He'll beat it, I believe. But if, like, Booker or Kevin, if you could, like, tend to Mustache real quick, you know, just make sure he's good. Also, Mustache can have, like, the good medicine, too. What the hell are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
You can have the premium stuff. Best quality.
Mustache deserves good medicine.
Yeah. Kevin's finally cleaning up all the shit around the base. Because it's, like, one of his other priorities other than doing research.
The blood shows, like, you know, we're scary people.
Alright, he's feeding the dog. There we go. Now he's getting rid of the sick. Also, all the blood around the horseshoe stand was incredibly funny. It's like, how dangerous is the game of horseshoe you're playing? Like, very. Where's our home marking at? Zones? Home?
What's the what?
I'm just looking at where's marked as a home for us. And, okay, it makes sense why he's doing what he's doing. Why he's cleaning every little piece instead of doing research.
Oh yeah, because that's all marked as home, so he's cleaning it all up. Yeah.
Do all this cleaning and then literally in like 30 seconds we're gonna get raided by something and it's gonna kill all of them. There'll be blood everywhere. And I'm like, damn it, really? It's finally cleaning all the mess from that time where he destroyed the wind turbine.
God.
Oh, Booker's finally building the thing around the batteries.
Yeah, because I told him to.
What happened to I put a door on these so they can still access them to repair them?
It's still there.
Oh, is it still there?
It's still there.
That one?
Yeah.
It's
just because they've put the thing out for it. Yeah.
You hadn't looked at it.
He's smoking and now he's sewing the area again. What the fuck? Build, you dickhead.
Some more rare thrombos.
We've had more. We've had so many thrombos. That's 2. In my other playthrough, I went hours without seeing them.
I had them move in for a time and just hang about, and they just wouldn't go away. For like ages.
They're so good animals to have.
Yeah, if you can convince them to hang out with you.
Yeah, they're really strong though. Like to kill, but you can. What's our animal skill at?
I don't know.
Handle 6. Okay, nowhere near enough. To be fair, it's probably an idea to try and just tame them because they're not going to like hurt us.
The recommended specs for the new Battlefield is Windows 11, a Ryzen 7 3700X or higher, or an Intel i7 10700, 16 gig of RAM minimum, with either an RX 6700 XT or an RTX 3060 Ti, and 80 gig of storage. Is the system requirements.
Jeez.
The recommended requirements. So, I'd blitz that right now.
Mm.
Also, the steel that we had, it's now trapped behind a wall of steel.
It's fine. They'll dig it. It's fine. It's
Eventually, Nana will get back to mining the wall out, and she'll get it.
I don't know if she's set for mining now.
Oh, is it just Booker?
Yeah, I took her off mining. She's just cooking. But I can take her off cooking.
Right, I'm gonna tell.
Because she doesn't need to cook.
Kevin, I'm gonna
And she can go back onto mining.
Kevin, your priority for cleaning is now gone.
Yeah, Nana's back mining now.
Kevin, get back to work. Shuffling your papers around. How's the dog doing? Dog's at 40% immunity to the flu.
Will dog live? Is the question. Yes. Okay, good.
Yeah, it'll be fine. 110% fine. We need to build him a bookcase as well, because I think that also increases the rate at which they learn.
Does it? I thought it just like
Wide
stored
bookcase
books.
of storing books stored here will passively enhance academic work done nearby and increase the beauty of the bookcase. The stored books will never deteriorate.
Oh, so you need to have books in it for it to
Yeah.
affect it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
at some point we do need to move the research center to its own room with a bookcase, but that's not a priority until soon. Though, we do have this giant empty space here it could go. In the workshop.
True. Yeah.
And we can make the bedroom
Just
just a
move it.
bedroom.
Finally, they can have a bedroom all to themselves with no work going on.
They'll get round
We
to
need to
it.
build them a table, actually, so they can have.
Yes. To be fair, we can put the table and chairs like in here. If we do like a that's way too big of a table. That's also way too big.
Make them a little kitchen where the stove is. Put like a table in the
I
middle.
was trying to put a table there, but a 2x4 is too big. Unless it goes right behind them. And I don't. Did we not have a small table? Because we've got a 3x3 or a 2x4. Do we not have any?
There's one.
smalls?
Did you just do a 1x2?
Where's the 1x2 table? I can't see that.
It's next to the 2x2. It's right next to it.
I've got 2x4, 3x3. I
So
can't
you
see.
got
Oh, it's bottom right corner. It's rude for me. It's not in the right spot. That's why.
Fair
Not
enough.
in the right spot. I want these two here. And then.
Just do one.
Oh no, because look, if I do,
Yeah, well, you can do that with one anyway.
they'll be happy now.
They won't kill themselves because they haven't eaten at a table.
Mustache has gotten food poisoning. No.
Fuck's
Mustache
sake.
already has the flu. Mustache doesn't need to be shitting their guts out as well. Hey, Kevin's intellect just went up. He's now researching even
Oh,
faster.
nice. Kevin's super smart. 13 intellect. Fucking nerd. Oh, we can get rid of the 8 without the table debuff now. -3, they'll be happy. Once the table's built. Is it being built from steel? Or is it wood? It's wood.
Wood.
Where's the wood? There's some wood there.
It's the odd cactus that exists. There just happens to be an ostrich hanging
I've
outside the
told
house.
Nana to haul some wood.
Yeah.
There's 15 wood though, it's not enough. Oh no, there's some wood here too as well. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think there's stuff that you got them to knock down, cut down. and you
Every
just didn't
cactus
bring
on
the
the map. I went through and made sure
God.
every cactus on the map was marked to be gone.
wood. Oh, you missed one.
Three
There's one
houses.
there. Unless someone just grew.
They grow and they regrow because they don't fully get rid of it. I've not asked them to replant it, just to harvest it, so they will regrow.
Right, she's growing all the wood. Kevin's researching. I wonder how cold it gets during the winter here. I wonder if how bad it will be. Book up. Right, just make limestone blocks for us, please.
Damn it, I wish the dog would stop throwing up in the bedroom. Oh, he's recovering from his food poisoning now.
Hey.
Kevin waking from his sleep to cleaning, go back to bed again. Burst awake out of bed. It's unclean! Kicks the dog out the way, cleans up, dives back into bed.
Oh god.
The mental
Knowledge is like, shut the fuck up, honestly.
The mental image of just kicking a dog out the way. Oh,
God. Is there any wildlife to hunt? No.
He's feeding the dog. Now get back to work, Kevin. We have hydroponics to research.
Phonics? Hydroponics.
Oh, yeah, there's no H.
Yeah, there's no H. I thought you called it phonics earlier, but I was like,
I did.
I wasn't sure if it was just in my brain.
No, I did. Then we're gonna go into tree sowing. My dyslexia really getting me on that one.
We have blocks now, so Booker can actually build shit. Game, can we have it? We've nearly done a full year. Can we have people, please? We need to create a prison for when we get raided again. I can't believe how little we've been raided on random. This has been such a chill session.
I know.
I don't like it.
We did get raided by two sets of guinea pigs, and the guinea pigs did knock down 2 of our people. Let's not pretend like it's been absolutely perfect. I
know, we had Kevin with his tantrum, but...
Having that start and then surviving is like crazy.
I can't believe we survived. I thought that was over. We actually just barely survived.
We nearly could do the basin.
Hey, hydroponics!
Let's go. Right, I'm gonna do tree sowing next.
Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a very good shout.
Let's come under. Also, just because I know we're gonna need them at some point to put these.
I don't know if we can grow trees in the hyper thingy area.
I
don't
know.
I wonder if we can use oh, where is it? The moisture pump. I don't think it will. Oh no. Normalize the moisture in the ground around them. They can turn wet ground to dry. Oh, they can convert soft sand into normal sand. Does that mean we can use it?
Pain stopper and power claw, but rats.
A new area's been revealed. Oh. Okay, cool. Oh, we can get someone a power claw? Oh, wow. 2-man hunting rats. And pain stopper. Raid!
Uh-oh. It's one guy, and he has a pistol.
He's a town guard. But his shooting skill is 0. Oh, he's got good mining and social.
Yeah, but we don't have a prison bed. And we don't have a prison set up to keep him in.
That's turned something into a prison.
We'd have to, if we just pause it for a second, if we go structure, limestone, we'll build it out here.
We'll force Kevin or Booker to build a small prison very quickly. Oh, outdoors is -1 now during the day, or is at the moment. I would get rid of the torch because it's going to use our wood.
Yeah, but
we're going to have to use lights
because it convinces him to join us quicker. Unless you want to run.
I know, but yeah, we'll run power because we can't afford to use wood.
Okay.
And let me run the power cables. There we go.
We're just gonna tell all of them not to kill him, just to. Beat him up.
Okay, just let him do the thing,
Well,
and then
we need everything constructing first.
Booker.
Already on it.
Ah, sweet. Sweet.
And then Kevin, can you prioritize working on the wooden bed real quick? In fact, no, it doesn't even need to be a wooden bed. Let's cancel that. Let's just pause time for a second. Let's go with a.
Yeah, just give him. I mean, if you give him a proper bed, it will.
If I do a bedroll, it's made out of camel.
bedroll's fine.
There we go. I can prioritize Kevin on.
Made out of camel.
Yeah.
Get over there, Kevin. Do your job.
I'm also getting Nana prioritizing on building the door as well. Booker, can you like not fuck about?
Yeah, I'm stopping his horseshoes, and I'm just getting him to build.
Imagine like you're about to raid this place, and you walk up, and they're like, "Hey, we're building your prison."
Give us a second. We're trying to build your fucking prison. There we go. Build it. I heard Mustache. Mustache is running around the place. How you doing? They're trained to rescue. No, they're just trained to be whole.
Booker being like, I'm hungry. I'm gonna run off and eat my dinner real quick.
Oh, they're beginning their assault, by the way.
Okay.
Draft.
Just draft Nana. Nana and Kevin. We'll leave Booker to build.
Yeah.
Hey,
Nana,
Booker.
come this side.
Hey, Booker,
Booker's asleep.
How about you don't go to sleep right now?
Go, Kevin, go. Oh, good shot, Nana. Get him.
I don't think we're keeping this guy because I think they're going to beat up before we get the prison built.
That's fine.
As much as we'd like an extra person.
Kevin's got melee too. Oh, he's not dead.
We do have a medical bed to put them in.
If they can build, is Booker not?
Booker's asleep. Even though we told him he has a schedule of never being allowed to sleep.
Are you pressing shift or?
Yes,
you...
I am pressing shift. I know.
Right, don't press shift because they'll sleep in rather than like they'll do what they're doing first rather than actually do what you want them to do.
Well, shift is the priority way to do it.
No, shift is you doing shift. You're queuing an order.
Well, it's like priority.
So you're queuing something. So they're already doing one thing. So then they'll think, oh yeah,
put it in as the next priority to do.
Yeah. We need Kevin to also. Oh no, Kevin's not constructing. Kevin, help constructing. Will he die? If he dies, he dies. It's fine. He dies in 6 hours. If he doesn't, it's fine.
Can they build this thing in 6 hours and then keep him alive? Is the question.
I believe they can.
I actually want Kevin if he can, can Kevin make the bed? Yeah, I want to prioritize making the bed first once he's done this brick wall. Because the bed's the key thing that's going to be the thing I can mark off straight away is for prisoners and for medical. I can say, I can't do it until it's in enclosed space. But at least you can do the flooring.
No, don't go rest. Keep constructing Booker. I don't care. I don't care about you. Nana is hunting for us. No, Kevin, keep building.
How you doing over here, fellow? 4 hours.
It's fine.
Moderate. Yeah, it's fine. Once he passes out, he'll slow down.
Build that Booker, help. I know you need to rest, but it's fine.
I have a really dumb idea, is we temporarily just move the bed into like this space here. And just have that door be the prison entrance door, but I don't like the idea of having this entire
might
line.
Build it in time.
I doubt it, because then they have to treat him, and look how far they got to run medical stuff over to him. We're not putting a door on this side.
Do you know what we need to do, actually? We need to assign... if I go... Where is it? Assign, here we go. Oh, you've already done the carry medicine thing.
Already done that. Already on that.
Well, because they're carrying normal stuff, so if you just get them to do herbal, because we don't have normal medicine at the moment.
Yeah, we can just set to this guy for his thing when we can.
Oh, it's nearly done. It's like 2 more blocks.
And he is 3 hours from death.
We'll be fine, I believe.
Does it tell you when
Kevin
I'm
will
clicking the thing to say only beds or enclosed spaces can be for prisoners?
I can see the red that you're clicking on. It says highlighted. Booker is nearly done. Come on, Booker. He's so close.
Come on!
How? 2
Come
hours.
on! Come on! Come on!
Because this guy can be our miner and our constructor, and they actually have good cooking
For
too.
prisoners! Right, Booker. Capture him. And all of you can be wardens. But Kevin by
just
priority.
put Kevin as it, because he's the best.
I'm gonna have Kevin as it, and I'm gonna have Booker as the low level, and have Nana as the secondary. So Nana can try, because now we've got this guy select. Now that we have him, once he's in there.
And see, I don't want them doing too much though. Like if you put them all as it, they all might then go warden and go try and.
Yeah, but they're gonna try and convince him to join us. That's the thing. It's gonna take a bit.
I know they can, and but Kevin's got a really high skill in it already, so we should be fine with just Kevin doing it. Kevin needs to perform medical. Hurry, Kevin. 1 hour, Kevin. Run, Kevin. Run. 0.8 hours.
This guy isn't
Kevin,
living.
run.
I don't think this guy's gonna live. I have a very
0.7.
good feeling that he's not gonna live.
4.6.
We're gonna do all this effort and he's going to die. The first chance we get to actually try and recruit someone, we're like putting leaves on his wounds.
0.4. 0.3.
Kevin's about to witness the death in lifetime.
0.4. Oh, it's gone up to 0.4 again.
It's still
0.3.
His blood loss is extreme.
0.2.
His malnutrition is trivial.
Oh, he's dead in 8 seconds.
7, 6, 5, 4, 10 seconds, 9 seconds,
not enough.
8
He's not gonna do
seconds,
it quick
7
enough.
seconds.
Yeah, he's
Well,
dead.
if we at least let them use the slightly better medical, maybe he could have survived it. And dead. Maybe we should have stripped him in those last 10 seconds.
We should have stripped him in his last 10 seconds.
Well, let him stink up the place and they can deal with the body later. And now we have a prison. Ta-da!
It all had a purpose in the end.
We now have the prison. We just need to finish the flooring and the research for the trees.
Dear.
And then we have to at some point build the hypno some things.
Hydroponics. The hypno.
I'm out just giving up trying with these words.
It is getting cold outside, actually. Did you say you put down Parkers to be built? You did, didn't you?
No, once this thing is built, then I can do it, because you can only do it at the tail of bench.
Okay, we're going to have to get Booker to prioritise that, I think.
Booker, who hasn't slept in a while, so let's give him a sleep period. Oh, no, he still gets sleep. No, you know me, he's in reverse.
He slept a couple of hours, that's all he needs.
He's got the reverse.
I told him to build it, and he's not building it.
Yeah, he's putting the steel in other places. Give him a second. He's also working.
Oh, it's because we have no components.
Yeah, he's filling bits in.
Oh no, we do now. Okay, cool.
There we go. And power will be sorted out. So we want to make patchwork
Yeah,
leather
he needs to.
forever, and we also want to make parkers until we have 5 times. That can be the priority. Oh no, that can go down. We'll do patch leather until we have 110. We've got parkers. I guess we do cowboy hats until we have 5 of them too. It's a lower priority than parkers. The parkers are a priority. Because outdoors and indoors now it's getting cold. It's Septober.
Yeah, it's getting quite cold now.
It's Septober, which is weird.
Why is it weird?
Well, it seems weird.
It's just weird. Nana's digging her little route that you assigned her. There's so much steel in here.
Yep.
This is great. I've never seen so much steel in my life. Are you warning in the steel that we need?
Yes, because they can get to it from the other side.
But they can't yet, though. Once they can get it from the other side, then yes, we can wall it.
They haven't
for
built
now.
that yet. So you just leave that thing there, because right now it's
No,
just
just
open the
cancel this.
hole.
Yeah, we'll just cancel it so they don't. So they don't do something stupid, and then Nana's like, I can't, guys, I can't get out, guys. Well, okay. I'm gonna put a door on the back as well of the house.
But that means I don't have to fortify it with traps.
But what if they need to leave? Like run out really fast for whatever reason, and they can't get out the front.
You're just making more things for me to build, but they aren't building yet.
Look, you love fortifying. Don't pretend that you don't. You love it.
I've done this wrong. No, I haven't done this right. Because then I do that there, and there, and...
Oh, it's so cold outside that everything is frozen, so it's not deteriorating anymore. Cool.
I haven't even started building the traps yet, because... Oh, limestone spike trap, there we go.
I'm going to do these conduits, so then hopefully this will connect to power.
We can give that dead body some light.
You should do steel traps. Cause we've got plenty of steel.
Oh, do we have plenty of steel? I didn't want to use all the steel because it takes 45 steel per trap.
But it does the most damage. Steel does the most damage for the traps.
Also uses the most resource. How many I'm building? And then if any of our guys accidentally walk in any of these traps, well then they're idiots and they deserve to be injured. That's, you know, that's the sense.
I mean, if that was a feature of the game, which luckily it isn't, that would be hilarious.
They do walk in the traps and injure themselves.
No, they don't. I've
Yes,
never
they do.
had them do that before.
I had it literally in my last playthrough twice. That's why I've done this. That's why I've done it
honestly
like
never
this.
had that before.
This is exactly why I've done it like this layout with the fences next to it, so they can climb over the fences. Because most people that are running after them won't climb over fences; they'll run through traps.
Maybe that's a new feature then, because I've watched loads of playthroughs of people who've done like it different to you, where they put one corridor with loads of traps in.
You guys will walk and step in the traps and get injured by the traps.
Yeah, like I said, that must be a new feature because I've seen like loads of playthroughs, like where they've built it where it's a single.
Everything I've seen has been people doing the double layer stuff, and I'm like, yep, makes sense.
I've never seen people do the double layer.
I was like advised by my Twitch chat as well to double layer. They were like, first time I played this, they were like, look, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, I'll figure it out. And they're like, yeah, but you're going to injure your people. I'm like, I'm willing to take the risk, okay?
I can't remember who I was watching, but he always used to do single layer. I can't remember his name now. Bucket, build the conduits. Just give us power to this area. Yay, there we go. Electrical bench. Who is our crafter? Is it still Looker? Oh, it is. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna take a book off planting for now.
Okay.
Because we've got 447 potatoes.
That's a damn lot of potatoes.
It's gonna be too cold for them anyway soon, so.
We could technically make a nutrient paste dispenser.
What everyone was holding now.
We have the steel and the components and the construction.
I don't think we need to though.
I mean, it just makes it easier for dealing with food because then they just get nutrient paste. Consumes less ingredients and time than any other meal production method, but nobody likes eating nutrient paste except raw food, but not raw plant matter like hay.
Yeah, make one if you want, and then just don't make anything out of it, I suppose, unless we really need to.
Oh, it's big. There is no way that I'm making.
Oh, really?
It's big. It is its
I thought it was
own
like
room.
a small thing.
No, because you have to put hoppers in it to put stuff into it as well. It's huge.
Oh fuck! It really is huge. Holy shit! Oh wow. Okay. Right. Once Booker's done that Parker, he can. Oh no, did that wrong.
Right.
Finish the Parker, and then you can go to bed.
Because we don't want them opening up the funnel without us having to rebuild the funnel. A cold snap.
Ooh.
Cause hypothermia.
Bill Parker's. I guess we need to make indoor heaters now.
God, yeah, probably. They still haven't prioritized moving the table yet. Kevin, can you like prioritize doing this? In fact, you know what?
There you go.
Move your stool as well, idiot. What are you doing? Don't just sat on it for a second.
Stool there.
Yeah. Fella, you need to work at this thing. You need to go with it. He's just sat back on the stool now like, oh, this is great. I've got my own space open out here. And now we can put a heater in the bedroom as well.
How do you make patchwork leather? Is it just something you can do?
Yeah, it's just I've set it already.
Okay.
If you go there, you go bills, and it's like the first bill is make patchwork.
I can't seem to...
You just patch
Oh, we're missing 50... We don't have enough ingredients to make patchwork leather.
That's fine. They'll get it from like when they turn food into stuff. Because they'll just have they'll have regular leather from like.
I'll get her assigned on to cooking then. I'll get Nana assigned on to cooking so she can butcher. So we can get some leather because everyone's going to need a parka because it's getting cold. It's 11 degrees outside. Okay, we have enough now. I'm going to get Booker to prioritise tailoring once he wakes up.
Does it in here get cold with the electric smelter that's set to smelt metal from slag? Because surely that generates heat.
I don't know actually. I don't think it does.
Work speed factor, bad temperature. Oh, because it's cold in here. So
yeah,
we do need a heater in here. We'll just put it.
Oh, I've got a heater next to the electric stove, and it's got a vent next to it, so that should be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, rather than build multiple, just have one there.
Why is Kevin pissed off now? Oh, he's smoking.
That's fine. He likes smoking.
Make himself happier. Hypothermia needs rescuing. Well, at least it's a good job. Kevin, he instantly got into bed and he got out again. Hey, Kevin, when you go back to bed, you'll be fine. He's got minor hypothermia. Hey, Flame. He's got minor hypothermia, but there's a heater in the bedroom now, so at least the room's gonna get like toasty.
He's making a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I told him to.
God's sake.
I told him to make 5.
I'm suspending
right,
that.
Nana, how about Nana? You don't spend time outside. Maybe we start making recreationals inside now, like a steel chess table.
I'm just getting Kevin quickly to make the heater. Oh, I'm missing leather. No. They made the hat, damn it, rather than the parka.
I'm so looking, running about outside wearing a parka and a
cowboy hat.
That's
a green
so funny.
Cowboy hat as well.
Oh, it's so funny. That's actually so funny.
Outside minus 26. Holy shit.
Maybe we should get them working on the basin now, as well. Because
the what?
I put down a thing for the basin in the storage room. They could grow veg inside now.
Yeah, they could do.
Where's he going with that, bro?
Oh, he's putting down the steel for your traps.
He's putting down the
Probably
for
get him
the
to make the table first.
Yeah.
Oh, now he's making the basin.
He's putting down the steel for the cables on his way back.
We still haven't made the tables for them to eat at.
Alright, that's got power. We'll have that growing.
It's going to need. It's going to need light.
Yeah, but what do we need? What do we need to grow as a priority? What do we always need to be growing, no matter what time of the year? I'd just say
Food.
Potato.
Yeah, potato would be fine, but it's going to need. Where is it? A sun lamp. Yeah.
Fine. I wish I could get a sun lamp from the wall. Let's put that.
Yeah, just put that. That'd be fine.
Storeroom is awful because it's -20. But hey,
I mean, that's fine.
-10, -20. We'll move it eventually. We just don't have the space. We haven't got a place for growing stuff inside yet. Because once we move it, we can have like a dedicated spot for it.
At least indoors is warmer now.
Yeah.
There's just no wildlife to hunt for us. That guy is still
Hey,
dead.
Kevin, I'm really annoyed about this one little thing here. Can you sort this? Yeah, the guy in there's fine. You know.
He's frozen. He's going to stay like that forever.
We're gonna put the next person in there. They're like, "There's a frozen body in here." It's like, that's your problem, not our problem.
Like, Kevin, did I not tell you to remove this fucking dead body?
Where's Nana right now? Nanda's still not wearing. She needs a parka as well.
No, but there's no more parkas because it was made. She's got a cowboy hat instead because he used the leather to make 2 cowboy hats rather than parkas. So
they were set lower priority on the list as well. That's the funny thing, is they are low on the priority list. Make patchwork higher, make parka, and then cowboy hat. And he's like, oh well, I can't make the parka, but I'll make a hat. I respect the hustle so bad. I also like the fact that we built this thing around the batteries, and I have not once gone back to finish it in all this time.
No, we haven't gone around to finishing it. I need to get Bucket to go back to finish it in a second.
It'll be fine. I'm sure it's fine. Our storage is looking so very, very full though.
Yeah, we need to build more shelves.
Oh, okay. I can do that. I'll get that queued up.
Right, I'm going to finish off the batteries.
I put that one in the wrong place.
Oh, I don't know if we have enough to finish working on the batteries. Oh, we do. Perfect. Oh, excellent.
Kevin, however, soon will know how to plant trees.
Yes, Kevin.
He's not too far off. He's only 700 of 1,000, so... Then we can start doing...
Plant trees somewhere just like far away.
We can start doing smithing, or we could do packaged survival meals. They're only 500.
I think we do package survival meals first.
Yeah.
Because then we can send them out on trips and stuff with them if we want to.
Because we can do packaged survival meals, and then we can do sterile materials.
Yeah, I think sterile materials is next, and then build like a proper hospital. And put them around our food as well, so they don't get food poisoning constantly.
Who's getting hypothermia?
Yes, Nana, we know you have hypothermia.
Oh.
Should be fine, until we can slaughter more animals.
Yeah.
Oh, boon apes. Do they give skin? I can't remember. Skin, fur, whatever it is.
Yeah, send her out with a
Nana's gonna hunt them all
hypothermia.
down.
In the cold, at night.
She's just shivering and she's trying to take a shot. Have you seen Blazing Saddles?
No, I haven't.
Oh, comedy from like, it's a very old comedy, but there's a scene in that where the cowboys and they're just talking about shooting stuff, and he goes, yeah, this is my shooting hand, and his hand's just shaking uncontrollably.
I've seen that clip. I haven't seen it, but I've seen that clip specifically.
Great film. Never succeeding
it's only
today's
recently where I saw
world.
The Princess Bride.
Oh god, that's also a
I hadn't seen
fantastic
it until
film.
recently.
Inconceivable!
I don't think you know what that word means.
Oh, that's so great.
It's such an off-the-cuff line. It's so funny.
When they're just trying to do the poison.
Yeah. See, I think you would switch the poison with my poison so that I drink the poison, so surely they must be poisoned. You poisoned them both. Yes, for the past 6 months I've been slowly training myself to eat more and more poison so that I wouldn't kill me.
What did he say? He's like, clearly you're insane. Wait till I get going, or something like that. And he's like, where was they again? Australia. Ah, yes, Australia.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Just saying it over and over again.
It's such a quotable film. Yeah. It's great. And I can't believe the main actor from that who plays the I can't remember the oh, what's his name? Wesley is in Saw as well. He's one of the main characters in Saw.
I like the fact it's got Andre the Giant in it.
Yeah. He plays a really good role.
Yeah, he's really good in it. I also like the two old people, the husband and wife, the Jewish old people.
Oh yeah, the healers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mel Brooks. I can't remember the name of it. I know his wife.
I'm not good with names of actors. I never have it. It's so funny.
What did the pump? He's like, he's only mostly dead. What did he say? Yeah. True love. You know, he said to Blave, and you cheated. Liar, liar! Get back, witch! It's not a witch. I'm your wife. Oh God.
Oh, that's so good.
That's great.
Something just went boom. I'm guessing that's Nano hunting. Yeah, it's Nano hunting.
Yeah, she's hunting 3 names. Don't worry about the boom. It's fine. There's one on fire, burning to death on fire.
One
They're
just blew up
killing
the
each
other.
other. Oh my God.
It was a massacre.
Good job, Nana. No, don't haul limestone. Haul the fucking dead. Extinguish the fire. Oh, one's burnt to death. No. Oh, the other one's burnt. Ah, rip. Well, we got one.
One's better than none.
True. And if I get Nana to prioritize butchering.
God, Kevin's so close to complete this research. He's been shuffling these papers for so long.
Who knew that's like how you could research or shuffle papers across your desk really fast? Hey, we got trees.
I don't know how that works. We put the trees.
Quite expired, I don't care.
Oh.
He was making a cowboy hat still at the time. Why is he always making cowboy hats? I cancelled it, so he's making another parka.
How do I zone for trees then? How does this work?
No, bucket! Oh, you can't make parka. Fuck.
Paint. Plant, harvest. How do I do the tree stuff then?
What are you trying to do?
Trying to figure out how you grow the trees.
I've never actually done it before.
I had to quickly look it up.
Is it not a growing zone?
That's what I thought, but I looked at it and I couldn't see anything for.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, we can do dragon trees and cactuses.
Oh nice. Can we just do them on sand? How did you see that, by the way?
It was just it was in the growing zone thing. I don't know. We can't do growing zones on sand.
Because I do growing zones. Is it just because it's not big enough?
No, you have to do it. You have to have a
growing zone. I see Drogo tree on it now. Okay.
I'm doing a 5x5.
I think it's just because of
5x5
minimum skill 6. So I think we have enough time.
Drago, that's fine, and cactus, that's fine.
Oh yeah, we've done it there. Yeah, that's fine.
And Booker is our one who's closest, I think. Growing. No.
He's going to be our planter. Yeah. You need to set him to do it though. Set him to do it if you want now, because at the moment he's just hauling.
Yeah, it's gonna be his priority.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, whether those trees survive or not, it's a different matter.
I don't think it will in this weather actually. You might want to just turn them off.
Yeah, but I can't do them in the thing in the house, and also I can't look at the. If I click on the thing, I don't see the full list of all the stuff. It hangs off the screen for some reason.
Oh, for me it's fine.
For me, it's hanging off the screen. Because there's more stuff under what's an option.
Yeah,
maybe it's in core is the last one.
Let's take Booker off growing because there's no point growing in this weather.
Yeah, we've got the zones marked for it. We'll get it in the future.
Yeah, and we can just get them building and stuff. Oh, Package Survivor Mail is doing that fast. I'll get Booker to build some tables, so we can actually eat on a table.
Yeah.
Actually, have we got any more wood? Is there actually any more wood anywhere? I think we've done it all now. Oh no, there's a cactus over here.
It's 2 cactuses.
Hopefully that'll be enough wood just to build a table. Oh, there's some wood outside as well that we just haven't picked up for some reason.
Oh, yeah, what am I doing?
There we go.
What the hell? Why am I doing wooden tables? I should be doing steel table.
I mean, you can leave them as wood if you want, it's up to you.
What am I doing also? What am I doing like this? Why am I doing like this?
Oh, you got a steel 2x2 table, nice.
Now we can have guests over for dinner as well.
We can have guests over for dinner. Not that we get many guests here, except for the frozen dude. Oh, we don't need to hoard any more chunks. Jesus. I'm cancelling those.
To be fair, our storage spot, stockpile zone 1 is nearly full.
Yeah, I've cancelled hoarding anything. Why is Smokeleaf outside? Why is Smokeleaf not inside?
It's just because it's a plant. It doesn't really matter if it's outside. Does it? It's
It does deteriorate. Let's bring it inside.
well, let's get Booker to build the steel shelf first.
There
Then. Quests expiring, whatever. We need them. One, storage has been our biggest thing.
Yeah, true. At least it's warm inside now.
Yeah.
Finally. Is there any more? There's no more wildlife to kill yet.
This package survival meal is nearly done. What was
Yeah,
next
that'd
we
be
were
good
going
to
to do?
get.
We were going to do smithing then, weren't we?
Where is smithing?
Oh no, we're going to do sterile materials, that was it. And then smithing.
Yeah. Where is smithing?
Second row on the left.
Oh yeah. Because I'm making new machining. Right, I want Booker to be constructing.
Yeah, we'll do sterile materials first, and then we'll do smithing.
Yeah.
Yep. And now they can be making that's fine. They'll figure it out once they're smart enough to do it. It requires cooking 8, which I don't think anybody of them have.
No, Nana's on her way though. She's cooking for nowhere near. Okay, I thought she was closer than that.
Oh, it's a dream for the future. One of them then will be Simeon. Also, he's churning through this research really quickly as well.
Oh, outside is now 7 degrees again. Cool.
Oh, cool, we can have him growing.
He really is going through that research.
Oh, it's December, so no, we can't because it will go cold again. It'll go warm, then it will go cold again.
What's that?
The weather.
Oh yeah, but at least it's warm now.
There
So
we go.
they're
There's
not
a
going to
bookcase
get
behind Kevin.
hypothermia.
Kevin's gonna be happy. Now here's his bookcase. It's slightly.
Research speed factor is 74%.
Does that go up with the? If I go production.
It doesn't say. I thought it would say if it's like if it is helping, but it's not. Reading bonus in room is 0 because there's no books in it.
Yeah, that's fine. It's not like we can attempt to make books, which is, you know. Contents, non-storage, all.
Yay, Booker's finally done the batteries.
Woohoo!
He's building. He's constructing stuff. Oh,
he's doing the flooring around the dead body. Let's go, Booker.
Oh dear.
And soon they'll start putting the traps down. Can't wait for him to put a light over a dead body.
I thought he was going to do that then, but he's not. He's doing the traps.
So
and stuff
funny
now.
if he suddenly did. Just out of nowhere.
God, that would be hilarious.
First trap done.
even though we've had no need for trout like all this year, it's been
but
chill.
it's always good to have them in case we get hit by a random raid.
I know. I completely agree. It's just like, what's happened? Why is there no raids? It's too quiet. I don't like it. Is there any more wildlife to kill? No. God damn it, wildlife. Come out of hibernation. It's fine. It's only fucking -2.
West. Active. Just the one for the paint stopper and the power claw with the 2-man hunting rats.
Oh, you're looking at quests.
Yeah, I was just looking to see what we had as an option still.
How far away is it?
Well, sterile materials will be done
far.
soon, which is good.
Yeah, we can put those around the floor. Start looking at a space for a hospital.
God, he's so close. 566 of 600, and he's like, yeah, I'm going off and doing something else for a sec. Like,
He had a snack. He got hungry.
Finish up your research, man. Okay.
Hey.
And then smithing research.
Oh, he's having a joint by the fire now, by the electric smelter. Put some more light in here so we can actually see what he's doing better. I should actually put some light in the storeroom too. Jesus.
Aurora.
Oh, nice.
Make them all stand outside real quick. They're like,
wow!
wow! Wow! So
this is great!
Cool! A Shack of Treasures,
Treasure.
a great bow, legendary, but there's no threat. Ooh. He's made a wooden chair. Woohoo! He's had his dinner at a table. He's also going to start making sterile. He's going to take the stone floor out to put sterile.
Are you making
floor.
everywhere sterile?
Only the kitchen space and the bedroom, because the bedroom's also the hospital area.
But it doesn't. No, don't make the bedroom. We'll have a little hospital area somewhere else.
Yeah, no, it makes sense with the bedroom because it
But
also
you-
improves their sleeping.
But it uses our silver.
And it's not like we can't just probably mine more or trade more.
But our money, silver.
If we get into drug production, we can just make loads of smoke with joints.
But silver.
We can just make loads
Look,
of smoke
I'm a
with
money
joints.
hoarder, okay? I need money.
I'm all for selling things.
We'll sell Kevin.
Drug production, site confining, wake up production. Disease preventing drug which blocks plague, malaria, and morb for this start, and then that goes to medicine production. Microelectronics prevents us from making. It makes us shields, transport pods, auto cannons, precision rifles, multi barrels.
Yeah, we don't need any of that shit just yet.
Smithing lets us get to long blades or plate armor, and then you've got machining, which does gunsmithing, flak armor, and pop smoke packs. Machining might be good, so we can make guns. So everyone can have guns. We can make some stronger or better guns.
Yeah, it would be nice to everyone have guns, but because we just haven't had any attacks yet, it's. I feel like.
Look, we're just looking
Randy
for a
is
really
just
bad
nice
one.
and chill.
We're just waiting for a really bad one's the problem. Where we're like,
Yeah.
damn, if only we'd had better guns. If everyone had better guns.
Well, we have good traps,
This is true.
but Booker needs to work on limestone production. Reach speed has gone down for Kevin on the bench. Inspired
Inspired-
surgery. I can now chop off your limbs. Oh, Nana and Kevin are smoking together.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I'm gonna make some limestone. Wow, imagine if I was chopping off somebody's hand. It'd be so easy.
Oh god. I can imagine doing the surgery for well, not the surgery, but what they did in the Fallout TV show, where they just stick her finger back on, Lucy's fingers back on.
Yeah, and then just
Sort of sew back on or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that's fine."
not even her
So
finger. It's a different finger.
Yeah, it is a different finger. Great show, very good show.
I know.
I can't believe how good that actually was.
I'm surprised as well, but I think Amazon's just like, right, the only way... Amazon's clearly looked at TV show service and gone, right, clearly if we just let the people that are interested in this actually make the stuff that they want to make, it's going to do well, because it's Amazon. We'll make it do well. It's like, there's no way it won't do well and make its money back if we just throw money at the show and let it just run with it.
Yeah, you're right. And they've seen how Halo went by not letting make it right, just doing their own thing, and it went terribly. So because it's so slow. Solar flare, please fuck off.
Yeah.
120 meal, and I can't cook because of it. Oh, she can now cook again.
Suddenly, lights back on.
Just as soon as I said.
God, Kevin's really found his stride when doing research, hasn't he?
He really has. That's like his thing. He just sits on that stool. He doesn't have a back on the stool. He uses the bookcase as the back, as for his backrest, and he just works away.
I can't wait for him to start doing machining. That's gonna be a fun
Why have you given him a stool rather than a chair, rather than a proper chair?
I just haven't switched it yet. He's just happy. To be fair, I was gonna give him a sofa so it'd be more comfortable, but, like a guinea pig fur chair. But...
He just relaxes in a
chair, but he doesn't have
sofa.
a patch either. You know.
Oh god, that'd be great.
Hey, can you stand here for a second whilst I mark this to be deconstructed? And then can you, like, deconstruct this real quick? No, can you then deconstruct the chair? So I can then prioritize putting a better chair there. Thanks. Thanks, Kev. Yeah, you just
You're
stand
welcome.
there instead of making your own chair. Hey, Booker, can you quickly, like... Hey, Booker, can you, like, come over here and, like, make a better chair? Hey, Kevin, can you fuck off and get to bed so Booker can make a better chair? Hey, Kevin, why don't you clean the workshop? Missing steel. Oh, we don't have enough steel to make another steel chair. Oop.
Well, we use raw steel.
This is why I haven't made him a better chair. It's because there isn't a better chair. Kevin will just have to stand when he's doing his stuff now.
Right, no more cooking. Now I can mine again. Booker can mine at night as well.
Yeah, Booker's just throwing up in our food space. It's fine.
That's fine.
How is he sick again? Smoke leaf tolerance small and food poisoning major.
He got food poisoning. Kevin, can you just come right? Oh, you've already done it. There you go.
Kevin's like, you weak ass.
Kevin's like, oh, can I try to sleep here, you fucking dickhead?
Just hears him fall, is lying there next to Nana. It's like, do you want to get him or should I? She's like, you get him. Okay. Slumps out of bed, hits every wall on the way through. Come here, you bastard, let's get you to bed.
Come in, you bastard.
Oh, bastard. Booker's only 24. Kevin is older than him.
I think Booker is the youngest.
Booker's
I think
the baby.
Nana is older. Yeah. He's throwing up again.
At least Kevin's priority is he can clean.
Yeah, true.
Oh, he's making sure Booker's eating. That's good. Where you going, Kevin?
Booker, eat this.
He's like, all right, back to eat. You know, done.
I can't. I'm too ill. Eat this, you fucking dickhead. Oh. Okay, Nana's mining again.
That's good. I'm just gonna have Kevin clean up the storeroom from all the sick.
Yeah, get this sick out.
And then he's gonna do the bedroom too.
Oh, an ostrich. How is Mustache doing?
He's 5. He's just chilling.
5 years old.
Alright, our next
We need
research
another
is
Labrador so they can
smithing.
breed.
Smithing will be done soon, so soon we'll be able to make a breach axe, a fueled smithy. That'll be pretty good. A fueled smithy.
That will be. Can we not make an electric smithy? Does it have to be fueled?
Well, the option is we can make a fueled one. I don't know if we can make an electric one already.
Because fuel is wood.
It just says fueled. I can't see one. I think that says.
Yeah, usually this
Oh,
fuel
look,
and
yeah, electric.
fueled.
Yeah, electric smithy right at the bottom.
Yeah, that's fine. Perfect. So much steel. Because I'm a smoke.
We could also make an electric crematorium, apparently.
Yeah, we can. I never built one of those. I always thought about building one, but like I just built graves instead for some reason. Just buried everybody.
Oh, I told them I marked 3 graves over here where they disposed of all of the what's it called? The camels.
Okay, you're making them dig their own graves.
Yeah. Kind of a realistic thought about life.
Do you think they can kill an ostrich without getting themselves killed?
No. I don't trust them. They live a simple life. I don't trust them enough to be able to kill an ostrich, unless they like kill it and then they run to hide like outside the front door, so it has to go through the traps. But the wall isn't finished for it to force them through the traps. Kevin's back at the research. Let's go. Kevin, how smart are you now? 15. God damn! And it's a burning passion.
Clever.
It's a strong master burning passion.
Yeah, he's gonna get really smart real quick.
Smokes a joint.
I don't know what the
research is.
I don't know what the cap is. Is there a cap?
I don't know. Smokes a joint and he researches as fast as he can. Let's go, my boy.
Joint in one hand, he's waving his hand over the paper at the same time, just like, yeah.
He's just drawing pictures of penises in a book.
Hey, if that helps him with his research.
There's so much
Right,
steel in this mountain.
After this day is over, I need to call it there because I am tired as fuck.
Okay.
I unfortunately still have to get up at 6:30 every day, so.
Oh, because of baby.
Because of baby going to nursery.
Yeah.
And just baby in general, yeah.
And you're off next week. No, you're back at work next week, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm back at work next week, yeah.
Aww. That means I'll have very boring times at home doing my own thing. It'll be just me and dog and films. I've got a list of films I'm watching next week and TV shows, hopefully.
What are you watching?
It's all on Plex. There's a lot of stuff just on Plex at the moment.
Fair enough.
I've been moving bits on and off constantly. So there's I really want to sit down and watch The Bad Guys. I want to watch Ballerina. I want to watch Indiana Jones, the newest Indiana Jones, because I've been meaning to watch that for a while. I really wanted to sit and watch Migration, Leo from 2023. Looks quite interesting. Tacoma. And yeah, it's pretty much the majority of films. And it's just a bunch of TV shows. I've got a bunch of TV shows on the list. Like, possibly watching season 2 of The Sandman before I watch it with a face. And
yeah, I need to watch Sandman.
I need to finish The Bear. There's a new season of The Bear. I need to finish season 3 or 4 of The Bear.
We've finished The Bear now.
I'm really far behind, but I'm not rushing through it. That show I can only watch in bursts because like the first season really made it difficult for me to sit and watch.
I loved watching it. I
loved the first season. Don't get me wrong, but I had to watch it in like little bursts because it was stressing me out too much. It was causing me to sit there and like panic myself. I was like, I'm really enjoying this, but I'm like, this is like stressing me out. And I was asking, like, I know a chef, and they were like, yeah, this is what it can be like. This is entirely what it can be like. So
it doesn't surprise me. Like that's what it can be like. It really does not surprise me at all. Hey, sun lamp. That room is now super bright. But nothing's been growing in there because book is not assigned to it, so...
This growing thing is gonna, like, eat through some of our storage, though. Our power.
Yeah, you could probably turn the sun lamp off if you wanted to.
Nah, we'll leave it on because we need to start. Because we're getting through the rice.
We might need more solar panels. Because we're going through all of our power right now. We'll turn it off for now because we're not actually doing anything, so...
Yeah, the thing is, battery expansions are paying... Oh, a raid from the wasps. Let's get them finishing... Oh, they're finished building the wall on one side. Let's see if they can get them to finish building the traps on the other. Okay, Nana, can you prioritize putting this fence here? Because at least then we can have them...
Hopefully 1 or 2 steel traps should be enough to kill them. Or knock them down. I think 1 trap might be enough to knock them down, because steel traps do a lot of damage.
How many is there in the raid? 1 or 2?
1.
Well, we want to try and
capture
We're really
getting small raids.
Yeah, we want to capture this
Is it because we're just out in the middle of nowhere?
Possibly. We do want to capture this guy.
I think it is because we are. Because there's like no other settlements around us. Yeah, you're right. We do want to try and capture this guy. I think they're more likely to go down if they go into a spike trap rather than get shot. Okay, there we go. So if we...
The pirates are raiding now. So do we
yeah, just draft... I've drafted Nana.
Put her in front of the front door.
Oh, she's not. He's not coming this way.
No, they're going for the...
If I get him to shoot...
Yeah.
Oh!
Instantly walks into a trap. Right, and
he's dead.
Oh. Okay.
Fuck. I didn't think it would kill them. Or do 100%.
That's really funny.
Log. A shot trap stabbed Yana jabbing into her torso.
And she's dead. Killed them. Some awful gear. And a pistol. Poor quality. Oh.
We now have another dead body at the base.
The first dead body's going stinky now. It's really bad.
Oh god. Right.
Look, when you're done doing the floor, can you prioritize cleaning the cell? Hey Nana, can you prioritize like delivering the lights so it can be built?
Right, I am saving it and calling it there.
Okay,
because I do really need sleep, sadly. Close the server.
Quick to main menu.
Close the server now.
That was a lot of fun. What are you doing Saturday?
It is. Nothing. Anything at the moment during the day.
Do you want to do this again?
Yeah, sure.
Because I can do this sort of in the daytime, but then at like I have to go and do the owl. But then what I can do is just, like if I can run off and do the owl, it takes me like half an hour because I'm biking over. So I can like just get the bike ready, jump on the bike, ride over, do the owl, ride back, and then come back to the stream and just leave them watching your stream. I'll just open your stream and just watch your stream whilst being like, you know. That's like at 9 o'clock.
I was going to stream Saturday anyway, but we can stream this, so that's perfectly fine with me.
Yeah.
See if we can get some more people.
If I do the raid, shall I guide our raid somewhere?
Do it.
Let's raid into... Oh, Bunny's live. So who else is live first? Let me go to the bottom of my list. Yeah, let's raid into Bunny. So I'm just gonna put their name in chat. Do that. So it's /raid, and then. It doesn't matter if it's only one viewer or not. Bunny will appreciate it. You can double raid into her.
Oh, you can drop Battlefield 6 for beta access. Interesting.
Ooh. Right, I'm hitting raid. Bye, chat. I'll be back on Saturday. I'm not back tomorrow because tomorrow is Borderlands and dog giving away and all sorts.